All right, we're back again. You guys thought we would fall off and slack off, but no. I'm healthier. Jordan's feeling better, and Baba Debo has us accountable. And we're back again.
Consistency.
Ex- See, you heard him. You heard Aldous Hodge himself. Baba Debo, the man, oh God, the top, the wingman of Valhalla. Okay, I'm done. But
Apparently, I look like Aldous Hodge.
he really does. If you guys like, if anyone ever asks what it looks like, take a picture of Aldous Hodge and give him like a bigger beard, and you have Badebo. And maybe like 2 inches shorter. I think Aldous Hodge like what 6'3" or something like that. I think you're like 6'4". Sorry, I think you're like 6 foot, right?
6 foot even.
Yeah, exactly. We're both the same height. Actually, we're all the same height. Actually, we're all 1%. Look at us. We should talk like what's his name? Cooley from Fugazi. Where he's like, what's
Don't get started.
what was it? It was um like 2% of the male population is above 6 foot. I'm 6'4" and I make 100K and I'm a black. Okay, that's corny. Anyways, I'm not gonna dog on a bunch of like quote unquote red pillars, or as Jordan put it, the what do you call it? The red pill industry? What did you call it, Jordan?
I said I'm not really into that red pill industry because it's just
Industry.
a it's a money maker machine, right?
It really is. Yes. So we're not gonna dog on the red pill industry, but we are here to talk about a really trending show known as Dandadan. Specifically, what is it called again? Yeah, Momokarun. Basically, because like when people ship quote unquote, when you want people to be in a relationship, you put their names together. I don't know why that's a thing. I mean, people even did that with Deb and I. They say Deb and Eb. It's a tongue twister. Momo, Ayase, and Okarun, aka Ken Takakura.
Sorry, say that one more time.
What, me and Deb? What they call us?
Yeah.
Deb and Eb, or Eb and Deb. Actually, people tend to say Eb and Deb. Yeah. The short for my name, Ebera, is Eb, and then for Deborah, it's Deb, so they say Eb and Deb. I know it's corny. Don't say it's cute, but Debo. We'll have to fight if that's the case. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about Momo and Okarun and their relationship. Uh, well, I guess I'll open up first. Like, what did you guys think of their relationship? Because I loved it. I haven't loved a relationship like this since like Shiro and Rin from Face Day Night. I know you guys. I don't think you guys both watched the Face Day Night series, but I really like their relationship, and that's what Momo and Okarun's relationship really reminded me of. I might go in between their different names, but you guys get the idea.
Well, yeah, I don't mind starting. So I thought the anime was pretty interesting. It did have a direction, especially in the beginning. I had
Mm-hmm.
a feeling that it would have been easier. Like it made a lot of sense, and you kind of got the feel of where the anime was gonna go, whether it's gonna go through the UFO way or whether it's gonna go through the whole spirits way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easy to build a plot around that. But then you what you have is these absurd moments and over the top comedy and pretty good. I would say pretty good illustration, pretty good graphics. I actually really
Beautiful,
enjoyed it. Yeah,
beautifully
and
animated.
the comedy between it's pretty. To me, it's pretty light, but of course, you try to make it over the top.
Yeah,
And what I do like about the anime is kind of like in par with slice of life. You don't have to think much. You can just enjoy. You
okay,
can just be in the moment. You
true.
don't have, yeah, you don't have to
It's
think
not
too much.
heavily thematic like Code Geass or like Psychopaths or something like that. It is a light watch. I do agree. Like it's not like it's dense, right?
Yeah, and but you can make it deep if you want it, if you want to.
Agreed.
So for example, you could question things like, well, why doesn't he say like Momo or Momo-chan, but he says Miss Ayase
Ayase, yep.
instead? You know what I mean?
Ayase-san.
Or where the other one, of course, we know clearly why Ayase. I'm gonna call her. I like the name Ayase. I feel
I
like I hear
respect that.
Momo too much.
Fair enough. Fair. Momo-chan.
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 But Okaran is
Okaru.
from the Okaru.
Yeah.
So from I thought it was Okaran.
No,
Okay.
I think
Uh,
you're thinking of like something else, which I can't think of at the top of my head. But go on.
So their relationship is really interesting because from her perspective, it's just, you know what, I can't really associate you with Ken because you're not really the same archetype as that guy I
Ooh, this guy's
once
cooking already.
knew. I once knew growing up. I mean, you're a bit lame, but it's okay. You make the effort, and maybe you could probably climb that ladder and reach a status, and then I will probably call you Ken. In the meantime, you're Okaru. You're,
I'm gonna make up a name for you. Mhm.
let me make up. You're not that guy yet, but don't worry. We can work towards that. So
Mhm.
I think that's very interesting, and I feel like if you even add, for example, Airu, is that her name?
Ida. Oh, Ida. Yeah, yeah,
Ida, right?
yeah.
So yeah, Ida. So even if you were to add her that factor, I feel like she's just a catalyst for their relationship to just propel in a way where they just really become closer. Because when you have a factor of jealousy in a relationship, you're gonna be like, wait, I actually have someone special here. Because why is this girl here who's really cute also want my man? So
Facts.
I think that just makes that whole love triangle there very interesting. And I can't wait. I'm on. I think I just finished. Yeah, I think it's episode 9, right? That makes it up to date.
Yeah, that at the time of this recording, I think episode 9 just came out. So he just beat the Loch Ness monster and the alien mantis grasshopper.
Yes, yes. So that ending of episode 9 was a bit weird, but I don't know where that is going. But nevertheless, it's interesting to see exactly where the show is going to go. But if I just have to answer your question very briefly again, it's just I like the comedy. I love it's more action packed than yeah, it's really action packed. There's a lot of comedy. I think it's like comedy, and there's a lot of also emotion in a sense that there's a lot of regret. And of course, that's with all the yokai and the spirits. Like part of the reason why they even exist is because they have a deep regret. They never moved on.
Mm.
And that's the reason. I mean, even that the yokai with the long hair, right? The reason why
Silky,
her,
acrobat Silky. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the reason why her hair got longer and longer is just because she just kept being resentful and she kept
Stayed
regretting.
in
She
the same
became,
place.
yeah, she stayed in the same place and she
Right.
got really powerful. So it depends how you look at the show and exactly your perspective of the show. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, for example, someone like me, when I saw the animation and the action packed and the light comedy,
Mm.
of course, I would like to focus on the emotional aspect.
Right.
But just based off of the way I view the show, I wanted to focus more on just the action pack and the comedy. But again,
Mhm.
everyone is different, right? It depends how you view the show.
Right. Okay. Okay. I feel that. What about you? What about you, Baba? Baba Dibble.
This
One
guy.
thing I really like about anime is how they make who are supposed to be the villains relatable in the sense that you kind of feel sorry for them.
Mm.
Because when you look at again, I have to apologize. I'll say it time and time again. I'm terrible with names.
That's why I'm here.
But
Don't worry. Mhm.
the new ghost that the
Silky
dancing
acrobat.
ghost,
Silky
Silky
acrobat.
Acrobat, like her whole origin story, like she was abused and became a ghost. Like she's not a bad guy.
No, you're right.
And if you look at a lot of animes, the villains usually have heartbreaking backstories, and it's not necessarily their fault that they are the way they are. It's just a bunch of terrible circumstances that lead them to become villainous.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
And even in all their villainy, they end up sacrificing for the better good.
Yeah, that's true. I really like
That's a good example. Yeah.
I really like Acrobat Silky's like story arc. Those I would say yeah, those were in terms of like I said as of right as of this recording, we just episode 9 just came out this week. I would have to say those 2 episodes were the best so far, like by a margin. every episode is beautifully animated and everything, but those episodes, yeah, stood out to be the most. But yeah, with that being said, I do love Okarun and Ayase's relationship is definitely A1. We don't really get those in anime. It's usually, how would I word it? With even though they didn't end up getting together, but Jordan, you know what I mean by this when I say it. A lot of shonen anime relationships tend to be akin to like Naruto and Sasuke. Sorry, well Sasuke, I mean, kind of true, but no, Naruto and Sakura.
That was a good one.
Right? That was
I
actually
see.
by accident. That was actually by accident. But Naruto and Sakura, right? Where it's like, you're doing, she kind of tolerates you. You're pretty annoying. She didn't like you in elementary school. She didn't like you in high school. But now that you're becoming someone of stature and prestige, now she's granting you the ability to be in her presence, right? You're still, for the most part, an inconvenience, and the only reason she's allowing you to be in her space is because you're of esteem and prestige now. She doesn't want to be with you because of that. She's tolerating you being in her space because of you're of esteem and prestige.
Yeah, you know what? No, actually, to that, I would say that relationship you were able to see it between
Okarun, Okarun, yeah.
Okaran, and Ida, the pink haired girl. So we're
Ooh,
okay.
okay.
So remember,
Cook.
let's. I was just gonna point out the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So remember what happened. So let's just rewind the viewer's memory for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, the girl thought that he was a loser. Oh, he's like,
Yeah.
you see, if whenever someone like that guys like that come across a very cute girl,
Mm-hmm.
they feel privileged speaking to us. And she said this.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until she realized that the guy was in her mind a demon
Mm-hmm.
who tried to help her
Mm-hmm.
that she then saw him as a love interest.
Yeah.
But remember when he was a loser, because remember before he was a demon,
Mm-hmm. Quote
after she
unquote.
got, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote demon, after she got saved,
Mm-hmm.
her whole perception of that guy changed because he actually tried to help her.
Yeah.
So if
Genuinely.
yeah, he genuinely tried to help her, and then you remember his answer was like, well, I mean, she asked why did you help me,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, well, wouldn't you? I just
Mm-hmm.
I just
You
did it
help
because
someone
I
that needs
want.
help. Yep.
Yeah, I just did it because I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. Imagine if you never if he never provided any value
Oof.
of anything, or whether it's finance, physical, or even saving her,
Mm-hmm.
he still would have been that dork that she would
Mm-hmm.
not pay attention to. But
Yep.
because he became this demon who's now powerful and saved her, oh, maybe he is still human. Wow,
Mm.
okay, you know what? Like I'm gonna give him a chance. And it
There's
just
something of
speaks
value here. Mm-hmm.
and it just speaks to that whole idea of Beauty and the Beast. Remember that
Mm.
whole idea, that whole relationship?
The
It's
warped understanding of Beauty and the Beast, I would even more so say. But go on.
Yeah, so the idea that the guy's a beast, he's different, he's a monster, but he's still human.
Mm-hmm. I can save him and slash fix him.
Exactly, I can still save him, and that's exactly Ida's perspective
Mm-hmm.
on Ken, is the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he's still a demon, but he has a human side. I can still save this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I find the relationship really interesting. I think that dynamic is more obvious than the dynamic between Momo and Okuru, because between their relationship, it was actually just Momo saving Okuru all the time, Okuran all the time. You know what?
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Mhm.
He's just saving the guy all the time.
We'll come back to that, and I think you make a good point on that too. By the way,
Yeah.
um, I guess I'd also ask Badebo, like, how do you feel about? I guess I'll pose this question to both of you guys. Like, should men go for women like Ida?
The woman with the pink hair, right?
Yeah, Ida. Yeah, the
Yeah,
one with
your
pink.
Japanese pronunciation is pretty good.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't mind giving this one to Debo to start first.
He's looking for his mute button.
Well, I have the mute button on my mic.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
I guess it depends on the type of guy that you are,
Okay. Okay.
because there's a lot that's gonna come with being with a woman like Ida, because
Hmm.
she presents like the what's the word I'm looking for here? Extrovert.
Okay.
So if you yourself like the popular one in the like the popular girl in the school,
Right.
like she presents as the type that be
It girl.
the exactly
Right.
prom queen, homecoming, all that type of stuff.
Yep.
Now, if that's not the lifestyle that you want, absolutely do not go for that type of girl.
Mm.
It's just clashing of values.
Mm.
Now, if that's all for you, if you're the basketball player and you're
Mm.
looking for the
Your
trophy
equivalent, quote
cheerleader,
unquote. Hmm.
sure, it might that seems like a better matchup. So it all depends. If you want all that comes with that, or you can handle all that comes with that, if you're about that life, go ahead. If not, don't. You're just looking for a headache.
That's a great point. I'll weigh in on the subject matter too. So I would say overall no, flat out no. Ida reminds me of the IG social media quote unquote models slash also young women who are born extremely beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful women, and I'm gonna come back to this aspect, but she was born beautiful, so she's never had to work on other aspects of herself, right? There's this common misconception that you know, extremely beautiful women slash models and athletes are superhuman, if you will. And in actuality, I remember by W you also follow Alan Obi from We Need to Talk. It's like people like that don't have a personality. They don't have risk. They don't have game because they don't have to. They don't have a personality. Have and I'll pose a different. I'll pose another question to you guys in the subject of Ida, which I'll come to in a second. But like people like that don't really have much going for them. They're very very vapid and shallow, right? If you see Ida, she kind of has this, which she says, right? She more or less says in different ways. She's like the sun revolves around her, not the planet. The solar system revolves around her. She's literally the center of everything. She has, what they say on social media nowadays, main character energy, right? Like she's literally the center of everything. She keeps saying how like she's the leader of the group. She's the one who's doing everything. She's the most important person here. And when you take that mentality and you take it into a relationship, it means that you're really just an NPC, not non-playable character. Those background characters you see in like RPG games like Pokemon and the Tales of series or whatever. They're just walking around, low polygon count, not very rendered very well. They have the same hair as like someone else in another village that you're gonna visit in like 2 hours from now, right? She has that sort of mindset. Even like the way she got attracted to Okarun was because of what he did for her, right? She didn't see his inherent value as a human. She is like,
Can I
oh,
change my answer?
oh, okay, all right. Well, I
Because
guess I'll pose this question to you. Do you guys have you guys also add this? Have you guys had experience with like women who were born extremely beautiful?
um
And then yeah, you can change your
first
answer too. Hmm.
I want to change my answer,
Hmm.
because as you spoke, I started remembering
Hmm.
Ida's character and some of the stuff that she said,
Hmm.
and she's a complete narcissist. So, with that said, no, do not try to make me get into a relationship with someone like Ida, because I can't believe I forgot this, but her whole mission was that she is so beautiful.
The chosen one.
Yeah, she is so beautiful that she was chosen to save the world.
MC
Like that level
Energy.
of delusion,
Delulu.
that level of delusion, you can't work with.
I'm gonna play the devil advocate here just to make this conversation a bit fun.
Mm,
Okay, so what Eb said about beautiful women normally not having a personality and not really having to work on
born beautiful, born extremely beautiful. Yeah.
born, yeah, born beautiful, not really having a personality, not really having to work on themselves. Yes, I can understand that point. But in the sake of Ida here, okay, let's look at the context. No, by the way, I do agree with you on that part.
Mm,
Generally speaking,
mm-hmm,
let's look at Ida. So in the beginning, she did have a very narcissistic behavior.
mm-hmm.
Now we must ask ourselves why. She lost her mother. So how do you think losing your mother at a young age will make one feel? How are you
Yeah.
going to cope with that? You know, maybe it's a trauma response for why she's like that. And another
Mm-hmm.
thing I'm going to say for Ida is prior to meeting or really interacting and after, I'm going to say Ken because I don't know, I'm very bad at Japanese pronunciation here.
That's okay.
Meeting Ken,
Mm-hmm.
she was I no, yeah, meeting Ken, she was this very narcissistic person, very just kept to myself. I'm the chosen one. She was very delusional. But
Mm-hmm.
after she met Ken, and of course Ken did something for her,
Mm-hmm.
we did see a change.
Okay.
So the change is, look what happened one that the ending scene of, this was hilarious, but the ending scene of episode 9
Mm-hmm.
where they find themselves in, in their underwear, nearly
Mm-hmm.
naked or whatever, and then she just decides to run with them. She
Yeah.
could have just
I love the animation for that. It looks so like I loved how even though everyone's like underclothed, they didn't try to sexualize it. They made it more of like a comedy situation with like this their distorted, embarrassed face. I did love that scene in particular. But yeah,
that
you were
was
saying it was
hilarious. But
hilarious.
remember, she was in a classroom, but then she decided to get out and then run with
True,
them.
true, true,
That
true.
is that is humiliation. And she could have just stayed in the classroom and then hid and
True.
said, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is not me. I don't embarrass myself like that. Now, one can still make the argument that, she probably didn't really change. She's just in love with Ken.
Mm.
I can get that argument.
Mm-hmm.
But to say that, she's a narcissist just because she's beautiful and she never had to, that's it's it's an oversimplification because we don't know how one would act if they lost a mother at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know plenty of women that never went through that experience and they turn out like Ida. And I guess you could kind of make that argument and that would hold true.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a traumatic experience like that, it's very hard. I don't know. It's very hard to just oversimplify their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do you think?
Well, the thing I would say so with Dandadan is that they never really explore all the backgrounds of all the characters, right? Like we have no idea what Okanu's parents are like. We don't even know what Ayase's parents, if they are estranged from her, if they passed away, or they're in another country. Like, we don't know. They never even explored. Like, they never really explored their backgrounds, even in terms of Ayase. I tried when I was coming up with ideas for this episode. We don't even know. I suspect Ayase does really good in school, but there's nothing that shows that. Um, so with that being said, I do agree with you on the standpoint of someone responding to a traumatic experience, but at the same time, someone can also respond to that traumatic experience and not turn out that way either. So it's
Absolutely.
twofold, right? Overall, in terms of I just go based off really what they've given us about her in the show. And in her case, she really does think the sun and the moon and the whole Milky Way revolves around her. And it's very difficult to work with a woman like that because even, as much as she likes Okarun, I'm willing to bet, if I were to juxtapose her with Ayase, is that if he stops doing or providing this service, whatever the service is, and whatever, we're also speaking like expansively in terms of male female dynamic heteronormative romantic relationships. Once you stop doing X thing, actually not even romantic relationship, just relationships in general too. Once you stop doing X thing, you're no longer of value to her. Why? Because you're the supporting cast. You're an NPC supporting cast member, right? She's the main character. She has the highest polygon count. It's all about her, and that's why the galaxy revolves around her.
Yeah. However, in Ida's case, we do know that she did lose her mom.
For sure, but we don't know like what her relationship with her dad is like, right? We don't even know if that really is her dad, to be fair. They haven't really told us or not. That's what I mean by like background. Like we
Question.
don't know. Sorry,
But
double.
the maternal connection for a woman is one of the strongest. You know
I
what I
agree.
mean?
I agree.
So
I'm not
if
pushing back on you on that.
so for a man, if we, for example, broke our paternal connection, even if we do have that maternal connection, you're
Mhm.
gonna see that we're gonna become very distable.
Mm-hmm.
So my question
So I
is
guess you're asking. Sorry,
my
no.
question
Mhm.
yeah
Mhm.
my question then becomes, do you think that she's acting like that because she never got that love
So you're
from that
talking about
maternal
performative
connection?
femininity.
Yes.
Okay, could be.
The
I
reason why
can't rule that out.
I never got that love from my mother, so I'm gonna make myself to overcompensate for the fact that I never got that maternal connection with her
By
into.
seeking out validation from men. Yeah, that's fair. It could be performative femininity as well. I can agree with you on that.
Oh, okay. Debo, what do you think? What's your
Um,
opinion?
the character Lois Lane. Did she
Well, we
have
have to
a
talk about her at another episode, but go on.
Did she have a maternal figure in her life?
Hmm.
Hmm.
In terms of the comics I've read,
It was
other
always
than
General slash Sergeant Lane,
yeah,
the
no, that's
dad
pretty much it.
who's in the army, but I never heard much of the mother.
Yeah, she passed away at some point in usually like in her childhood slash teens. Usually when the mom passes away.
This is why I bring it up.
Okay,
The
Hmm.
he's about to go.
character of Ida, especially after Jordan brought up the fact that she did not take any interest into um
Okarun.
Ken
Mm-hmm.
until she seen the powers.
Yeah.
Is she not basically a Lois Lane without the skills?
Deceased.
This guy
I
said
said
deceased.
Lois Lane without the skills. That's crazy.
Because she's extremely nosy,
Mm,
just like Lois Lane,
mm.
except for there's no like visible skills. Like we don't know anything that she's good at yet.
Mm. I mean, she can transform now, but I agree with you. And on the point of Lois Lane, that's the thing that's been interesting about her, which we'll talk about in our Superman episode, is that like as her iterations have gone on, because before like she found like Clark Kent to be like a nuisance and Superman being like the epitome of masculinity and sexiness. As the iterations have gone on, she's attracted first to Clark for who he is, and she respects and admires Superman. And then when she finds out both men are the epitome who are the epitome of masculinity for her, who is like very much opposite of her dad, and she realizes they're both the same man. That's when she really falls in love with Clark. She's like, oh my gosh, you really are like everything. I already liked you for who you are. You're really that guy, right? But yeah, like just dealing with a woman like that in general is very difficult. And I say that even like the concept of performative femininity, right? Where we see it in society where like whoever she is, she'll be wearing like what I call the tarantula eyelashes, right? There's like hanging off her face and everything. She has like a geisha level makeup, and geisha I can respect, but you don't need to wear that much all the time. And platinum blonde hair is not exactly alluring to most men, right? And also I forgot the Wolverine fingernails, the claws, right? It comes from, I would say I can understand it comes from that. And it's very hard to work with someone like that. And I say that to say I've seen and met like a lot of women throughout my life with the field I work in, and like the thing I've noticed is that the very attractive, beautiful women, this also includes Deb. When I say this, they weren't born extremely beautiful. Not to say they were ugly throughout their life. Is that for the most part they were like, for lack of a
They had
better
the
word,
glow ups.
mid. Exactly, they had a glow up, and because like the thing with us as human beings is that we don't do things unless we have to. So if literally every like people don't understand what it's like to be a beautiful woman, and like I have an understanding of it because my wife is beautiful. Is that like, do you know what it's like for people to throw away? I sent some messages about like the stuff that's going on in One Piece right now. Do you know what it's like for men to be willing to throw away their savings just to stare at you? Like, you notice that's like that's a different reality, right? And so if you grow up your whole life with like men just literally throwing their whole livelihood just to be around you because your genetics just happen to work out really well, you don't really have to develop other skills. You don't have to, right? But the women who've had glow ups that I've met, it's because like they were for the most part mid in high school or elementary school, whatever it is. And because of that, they had to cultivate other skills, right? They had to develop a personality, they had to develop an intellect, they had to develop um, a way of talking, a way of engaging in that. There's a sense of humor, right? In a way that can, make people want to be around you, because people aren't necessarily going to want to be around you because you're not the most gorgeous girl in the room. So now you have to develop other things.
It's like male trust fund babies.
Perfect example, or like very high performing athletes for the most part, right? Like if you've gotten all these things, you don't have to develop other things because everyone literally throws themselves just to be with you or to be around
Charles
you.
Barkley famously says he's never had a 9 to 5 in his entire life. He's never had to work outside of playing basketball.
There you go. So if you put him in a 9 to 5 situation, as much as he's like probably one of the best defensive players of all time, he will know how to deal with it. All right. And so I've seen like how women tend to have that. So like the ones I know that like have caliber in this team is because like they weren't, the baddest girl in the room for some portion of their life, right? As opposed to which I want to talk about, which is like Ayase, right? With in terms of Ayase, when I look at her as a character, right, she was a loser. She was a loser in elementary school, right? They were making fun of her because of her mom being like a shrine priest and everything, and making her do occult things. And so now she grew up being a loser. So she's used to not being like, even like we don't really clearly say it, but you can clearly see like Ayase is probably one of the popular pretty girls, right? Like all the girls always around her. She's really cool. She's very charming. From what I was able to infer, they don't really say it in the series, but she even does really good in school, right? So she has everything going for her. Yet still, she just kind of does whatever she wants. Is because she's like, well, people didn't like me before, so now that I have had a glow up, I don't really care about what people think about me now.
Yeah, I could see I can understand that perspective. But just to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
about whether or not we've been with a beautiful woman and how that experience was,
Born extremely
Frank,
beautiful.
born extremely beautiful, man, that experience is hell.
Okay.
That
How do you
experience
know that?
is
How do you know that?
hell. I was okay, so I was with and I knew she was beautiful because wherever you go, you would have, for example, we went to a nail salon, and then the person doing the nails, would say, "Hey, do you have a sister? Because I have a son, and I want my son to marry your sister." Just little examples like that, or even just walking down the streets, and you have literally people just coming up to her and say, "You have a nice whatever, this or that," and it happened pretty often. Um, the reason it was hard is because she was the sort of type where she just did not speak. And just speaking to your point, Eb, she didn't need to develop that skill set, that speaking ability. She
Mhm.
didn't have to because she could just say a few words and then she'll get whatever she wanted. She could just act a certain way, stare, and
Exist.
people and just exist, and people would just give her whatever she wanted. So why did she didn't have to talk, but in the process she did receive a lot of hatred, which she told me about, because
Okay.
she didn't talk. And
Hmm.
because she didn't talk, people thought that
She was stuck up.
this yeah, exactly, this is what she told me, that she didn't like other people, or she thought that she was better than other people because she didn't have to talk, but yet she'll still get exactly what she wanted.
Hmm.
What made it difficult is because there's no communication, there's no effective communication going on. And of course, if you don't have that, it's very hard to tell what that person is thinking. And especially if they're the quiet type too,
Hmm.
it it just makes an impossible relationship.
I
It's
was
hard.
I was
Uh,
waiting for you to say that. Yeah, no. I've thought about like in my colleges where like there's some very beautiful women, but because they were born beautiful, it was excruciating to talk to them
it's
because they
painful.
just don't have any substance, right?
That's the thing. I think most people are gonna say when it comes to that being with some
Hmm.
beautiful women, like
Hmm.
you're getting either one of two extremes, whereas you're either bored or
Hmm.
you're annoyed.
Ooh.
Have I dealt with annoying? I've mostly actually no, I can't think of being annoyed. I can't remember what it was, but I remember there was one girl I was talking to in college. She said something, and I was like, this is one of the most foolish things I've heard, and I just actually no, actually I can think of examples of where I would hear certain women would say certain things, like the ones who are extremely beautiful who never had to develop personality. These are different from women who have to develop those things, and like I would the reason I never got with anything is because I would actually tell them off. So I would, and that's the other thing too with women like that, right? Is because everyone, especially men, want to be with them. So you tell them whatever they want to hear, right? Because if you tell a woman, if you tell like overall, if you tell someone what they need to hear as opposed to what they want to hear, you're probably not going to get the outcome you want unless you're trying to just genuinely help them. So if I
Yeah.
would hear something foolish, I would say, I'm like, no, that's foolish. Why would you say that? That makes no sense. Let me break this down to you why this doesn't make sense, right? And that is why I didn't end up in a lot of relationships half the time, majority of the time, is because I was just like, what? Why would you say that?
I want to answer your question because you asked Jordan how did he know he was with a beautiful woman. Mine's a
Yes.
kind of I would say it's a little funny story. I remember my cousin hooked me up with a girl and we went to a all you can eat buffet. And I
Hmm.
knew she was beautiful because whenever I went to go get food and left her alone, when I come back, there'd be a dude talking to her.
Hmm. Yep. And what was like your experience with women like that?
Oh, Devo knows. So Devo knows this experience very well. It's not for the weak
Yeah.
because
Well, that's what everybody says. You gotta be able to stomach
yeah,
your girl
because
being the object of a lot of people's attention.
it is not for the weak. I mean, if okay, I want the viewers to try this out. I'm gonna put them up to the test if they're listening. If you're with a beautiful woman, and and it's relatively healthy, and she allows you to go through her phone or whatever, just look at her Instagram. In my case, what happened was I had all these dudes writing Shakespearean poetry to her, and I'm just like, wait, what? And we're just looking at it, we're just laughing. I'm like, what? She's like the sun, she's like the moon, all these things. I'm
The
like,
sun and the Milky Way. I don't think you understood. I didn't say the sun revolves around her. I said the Milky Way. This galaxy revolves around her. It started with her and will end with her. Yes. Like it's different. Like, sorry, go
some
on.
some people, some pending transaction money, all she had to do was
Cash
just
app.
yeah, all she had. I don't know, I don't think there's cash up in Canada yet,
Oh, okay.
but
Hmm.
yeah, I think it was like PayPal or whatever. But
Mm.
she all she had to do was just she's few clicks away from just accepting it, and she looked at that and she said, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what? And then she deletes it in front of me and stuff. Like, I'm just like, yeah, it's not for the weak. If you're not emotionally strong, oh man, you don't fantasize about things like that, because when you're with one, your emotional intelligence will be tested all the time,
Yeah.
all the time. And you know what's so funny? She's gonna be she's gonna be looking at your reaction. It's not about what you say, but it's gonna be initially your reaction,
Hmm.
because she will know based off of just so many validation that she's, number one, beautiful, two, whether or not you're confident based on the reaction she's getting.
Hmm.
So it's a very tough game, and it's really not for the weak. And then just to answer your other question, Ab, you said who was meant for Ken between, was it Momo and Ira? Was that your other question? Your
What
initial
was my other
question?
question? Debo, do you remember what I said? I'm trying to remember what my question was.
Because
Absolutely not.
you said, should Ken be with
Oh
Momo
yes,
or
should men
Ira?
go for women like Ida?
Yeah, so that's a very of course, interesting question. And it just goes back to this whole idea that it depends how you interpret the dynamics between the characters and what resonates with you as a reader.
Hmm.
Because for guys like me, of course, I don't want to be with someone who just wants to be with me after I
You do better.
provided some sort of value to them. Even though I know that's how society works. If you
Hmm.
want to be with the best of the best, you have to be some sort of value.
Hmm. To
But
somebody. Hmm.
yeah, to somebody, but I just wouldn't want to be with someone like that.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at Iris' personality, uh, she she's passionate. She's extremely outgoing. She's strong-willed nature, and she isn't afraid to speak her mind.
Mm.
And I think that could balance
Mm.
Ken's somewhat timid and awkward personality, because this dynamic could create like a compelling opposite attract relationship.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
maybe this can be good for her, but
Hmm.
then it just all goes back to kind of like that initial thing, like would you want to be with that person because now this person sees value in you because you have power now, or you have money, or you have status, or you're a
Mm.
protector.
I think
It
a
all
lot
comes.
of women like. Sorry, not a lot of women. I think a lot of men, and we'll talk. We're going to expand more on this, especially when it comes to the male side of this dynamic. I think a lot of young men desire and aspire for a woman like Ida, but they don't understand, as you both said in varying ways, what comes with that. Because like going back on episode 8, before the Loch Ness monster stuff, where like Momo Ayase misunderstood like what was going on with why Okan was being so secretive. You know how like they fall over into like a missionary position and she wants Okan to kiss her. When I was watching the episode again, preparing for this episode that we're recording, I realized that like they didn't fall by accident. She tripped him. She
Yep.
tripped him in a way for him to fall on top of her, and now he has to kiss her. So once again, this goes back into the whole like this galaxy revolves around me. If you're not going to kiss me, I'm going to put you in a situation to kiss me.
You know what I got from that? I got, if she wants to, she would do it. If she wants to be with you, she would show you effort that she wants to be with you. If she wants to make it known that she likes you, she would tell you.
Well, I would say that's more of a Yase because like Ida, he's saying no, and then she tripped him. He said no, right? So
Hmm.
that goes, and that's why I say that. Like he pushed you off. He said no, and you're like, I'm
Well,
gonna make
she
you
well
trip.
she said no because she had a distorted view of what a confession was. Remember?
True. He also said no
Maybe.
though. Like no is
Yeah, yeah.
no.
She said
Oh,
yeah, yeah. She did say, yeah. You're right. So she did say no, and then she was like, "Wait, why did she say no?" He's like, "Well, that's not even what love. That's not even what love or confession is. Like, who showed you that?
mm-hmm.
Remember?"
Yep.
So who knows? Maybe if okay, because you can't deny that Ken was not attracted to her. He was very much attracted to her.
Was what do you think, Debo? I don't know if he was attracted to her. The only one I've seen him being attracted to is Ayase. To me,
Hmm.
waiting for Baba Debo to
Baba
weigh in.
Nev.
Baba
I'm
Debo.
trying to I'm trying to think if there was any moments where he showed any like
He was just being I was gonna say a nice guy, but that has a whole trope and a conversation within itself. I saw him as just being a good guy, and
because
she
even
misinterpreted that.
I think he was completely innocent.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like he didn't even know he had feelings. Because there
Hmm.
was a moment where I can't remember what the moment was, but there was a moment where someone said something and that made him look at Ayase and say, "Wait a
Yeah.
minute, he is cute."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like he was on a straight friend tip,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
and then that one thing, whatever it was, I can't remember it. Whatever it was that someone said to him made him look at her
Yeah. The
as
other
if
bullies. Yeah.
yes. So all of a sudden he was like, "Wait a minute, she does look kind of cute though." But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I see any moments like that
Ida.
with Ida.
Yeah, he was just being friendly, and then she was just like, and then she likes him, but he's like, you're pretty. Like, I remember when she like kind of came on to him, when she thought he was a loser, but he was just like,
That's one thing about animes. Outside of harems, if it's not a harem situation,
mm-hmm.
they're extremely loyal.
Yeah, that's a fact.
There's no
Remember
messing
that?
around
Yeah.
going on. Like you'll get punched before somebody's messing around with a next person.
Yeah, and so that's. Sorry, you're about to. You wanted to say something, Jordan, or you want to continue your point?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so remember when Ida drops something and then Ken picks it up, gives it to her, and then he starts to blush. And he's like, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
she's so pretty, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, they go into their little hideout, and then I think, what was it? I think I think someone was on Ida, and then Ken quickly rushes, like, "What are you doing? Get off of her!" But all along, he did not know that um Ida
What?
was actually bad mouthing her, about bad mouthing him.
When did he? When did that happen? Are you talking about like when they're fighting Acrobat Silky?
Yes, in the
Okay. Oh yeah,
initial,
he was just. Oh yeah, exactly. And
he
he was
was
doing the right. He was doing the right thing, which was to protect her. But
yeah,
she
and I
obviously
think
misinterpreted that.
I think Ken's reaction, especially in the beginning when he helped Ida with adulting or whatever, and he starts to blush and he's like, "Wow, she's really pretty. I can't believe she spoke to me." He's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, you know, I got her attention or whatever." I think that's a natural. I think that's most men how they would react if a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
woman, spoke to them and then they kind
Mm-hmm.
of like help them out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that there was some sort of infatuation for sure, and he got charmed.
Mm-hmm. I think that would probably be the right word. I think there was definitely
Charmed,
an initially fat infatuation, but he doesn't have that sort of
like you're
in
talking
best
about,
interest in her.
like
Sorry?
lust, like romantic interest, is what you're saying.
Exactly, right. As opposed to, like I said, Ayase, where he's had like that, and it's a very mutual thing, and that's the reason why I liked it. Their connection. So when they were in class separately, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. You remember when they're in the class together, in the separate classes, and they kept saying, "Oh, I can't wait to talk to Ayase, Miss Ayase. I can't wait to talk to Oka." And they both were
Yeah,
having that excitement to be around and engage with each other. That's something I really loved about their connection, because typically, and I liken this to some of the unhealthy tropes in anime that we see in media. We were kind of like, chatting about like the Titanic and the Notebook, where she, and this is why I named the episode like "Go Where You're Celebrated, Not Tolerated." You're kind of like with the whole these tropes are right. These romantic tropes is like you're kind of like an inconvenience to her. You're somewhat tolerated until maybe you moved a mountain, at least one mountain, right? And after you moved a mountain, now she notices you, and now you get to be tolerated in her space, right? Like the main reason why I don't remember the main character. Sorry, someone was about to say something. Jordan.
No, it's an
oh,
echo.
Oh, okay. Um, Titanic. The only reason I don't remember the characters' names, I think it was Jack into Titanic, and the woman's name I don't remember either. But
Rose. I think it was Rose.
Rose.
I
Okay.
have a child.
Huh?
I'm
What?
sorry. Sorry, it's a random reference from Titanic.
Well,
What
have
was
a
it? What was the
child.
reference?
So remember when the boat was cracked was coming
Yeah.
down?
Yeah.
They said women and children first.
Yes.
So Billy Zane, who was supposed to be the villain of the movie, he
Mhm.
grabs some random child, goes to the front of the line like, "I have a child," so he can get on a boat.
That's crazy. So like Deb was watching it when we were back at the condo, and I was half watching because I was working out at the time, and I was just kind of watching scenes here and there, and I'm like, keep in mind, I'm not sitting down critically thinking about the movie. I'm like watching it passively as I do, like my physical exercises, and I'm being like, this is toxic. I'm like, this is the reason why I thought like this. This is the reason why I thought that I'm supposed to be once again an inconvenience to her, and I need to at least move a mountain to convince her to be with me, even though she's within a relationship with someone else, and even though it should be a red flag, the fact that she left someone else to be with me, but because she's decided to be with me because I moved at least 8 mountains. Now I've quote unquote won at life, and I'm like, yo, this movie is toxic. Like if you go back to even the Notebook. Like it's all these women leaving their men because this other guy is hanging off Ferris wheels and painting her nude and all this stuff. Now she decides to be with him because, like I said before, he was kind of like a nuisance, right? You're a nuisance until you've done enough value and provide enough value to her, enough value, whatever enough is, quote unquote, because it varies from person to person, if it is even the case. And upon when you do so, that's when she will grant you the, I guess you could say, the luxury of being in her presence and being with her romantically. And when you're looking, going back on, like I said, with Ayase and Okarun, is that she always had a mutual vested interest in him. Like after they beat Turbo Granny, the first thing she did when she woke up, she didn't go to eat, right? She didn't even go to see if she was physically okay, because they just finished fighting that crazy Granny. She went to go look for Okarun, and she was freaking out. She even apologized to her grandmother just for her to tell him, just for her grandmother to tell Ayase about what happened to Okarun. And I really love that in the show. I don't know if you guys wanted to kind of talk about that, but yeah. Sorry, no, go on, Jordan. I'll talk after.
Okay. Wouldn't you say that Ayase only really started to like Ken because she found out that he was Ken?
So I will say that. So the thing that drew her
Because
to
remember what
Okarun.
Ken did in the I think so. Part of the reason why Ayase fell in love with Ken is because wasn't it because he saved her during like her childhood or
As
something like
you
that?
said, he didn't even save her. Um, but what started to draw her into was those sequence of events. It did start there, but it also continued into a lot of aspects where it was just really fun fact. Let's segue into some background. So Takakura is a well-known Japanese actor from, I think, the 60s and 70s. I think I sent you guys a video about it. And basically, in terms of acting, he's like the Japanese Denzel Washington. So he knows how to put on this stoic, masculine frame while still being able to be vulnerable and open. And that's really what Ayase was looking for in a man, is someone who has like a strong sense of masculinity and at the same time has a vulnerability to him. Now she kept going for like just guys who had those names. It's just like how a lot of young women may go, and this goes into men dating women with torrential eyelashes and stuff. It's performative masculinity and femininity, in the sense of I like this thing, but I don't know what this thing actually means yet, because I'm maybe too young, or maybe I have a poor understanding of this thing, whether it's femininity, masculinity, or whatever it is. And so she was dating with a loser in the first episode, who was just a user, right? He was just using her for her stuff. And then they broke up. And she was just like, none of these, what did she say? I'm trying to find it. Let me see if I can find the quote. But basically, she was saying how none of these guys have integrity. That's the thing that she was looking for. She was looking for the 10 Kakakura in masculine integrity. And she's like, none of these guys have integrity. They're all scums. And here is this guy who doesn't want to see her in her underwear and she gets attacked by aliens, who literally takes off his clothes just to make sure that she's good, who is able to communicate with her and also expresses how much he appreciates her. So he's showing that, stoicism and that masculine protector frame, even though he kind of failed on the protector part. He ended up like getting slammed by the aliens, the Serporians, I believe is their names. But it's that attempt to be that thing that she's looking for. There, she's like, "Oh, this guy has value here." And even before then, there was, their conversation that had to do with like aliens and witches, right? Like, so with Ayase, because she doesn't, and I like this about her character. She doesn't lead with her beauty. She doesn't lead with her beauty. Yes, she's very attractive, but that's not what she leads with. She just leads with who she is, because she's used to not being, in the past, she's used to not being the prettiest girl in the room. So she leads with, yeah, like, this is who I am. This is what I like. And oh, shoot, this guy actually likes the same things as me. He actually has integrity. He actually he has inherent value in terms of who he is. And also, we can talk about later, he has a backbone too. He's not some little bitch who I can walk over. He actually like pushes back if I push against him too hard.
Um.
I'll say,
Okay.
because sorry to kind of come over you, come over
Mhm.
you. Um,
Well,
sorry to jump the line there.
that one is not getting cut for sure.
No, I'm keeping that. Absolutely. That's staying in the episode. Go on, Baba Debo.
I've been thinking about this from points that have been brought up throughout our discussion today, but I think it needs to be said. It's been danced on, but hasn't fully been said.
Okay.
Women want, and it kind of goes back to the what do you call it? The
Ira
husband
stuff?
store, because it's the husband
And
store.
husband.
You know
Okay.
the story of the husband store. Women want a lot of women want what is impossible, which is essentially Kal-El. And I say Kal-El because they want
Oh.
Superman and Clark Kent.
Woof. Wrap up the episode.
Because Lois always falls in love with Superman first. But it's not until she falls in love with Clark Kent that she gets the man.
I would go a step further. Like I said, with more and more of the recent iterations with Lois, she like falls in love with she falls for Clark. She respects and admires Superman, but when the two Clark Kent and Superman coalesce and synthesize to become Kal-El, that's exactly who she wants. That this guy's cooking. I don't even think we may even need to do the episode on Superman now. This guy just
And
did
then
it.
when you look at Ida,
Mhm.
she doesn't start to fall for
Clark.
for Ken until she learns he has the power to protect her.
Mm. The Superman archetype, where he
Boom.
transforms into his turbo granny self. Yeah.
And then when you look at with Ayase,
I say, mhm.
he did not necessarily have the power, but he was always trying to protect her.
Mm.
And then when he had the power, it all came together. And then there was just basically the universe telling her, "This is your guy."
Mm.
She finds out the guy's name. This what appears to be a
This guy is
loser
cooking.
has the same name as a guy that I love.
Mm-hmm. And he thinks in the same way that he does. Remember, he's like,
Think the same way to the
I'm an awkward
point.
guy myself. Mm-hmm.
Boom, boom. A lot of people wouldn't know it. I wouldn't know it if you didn't send it, but that's the phrase. That's the real life Ken. What's his name?
Takakura.
That's the real life guy's catchphrase.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is using my love's catchphrase. He has to be the one.
Yep, and he's not even doing it intentionally, right? So and I think this is a good talking point. It kind of goes back on what you're saying about Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman. He's not trying to be someone he's not. He's not, and this is what a lot of young men tend to do, and I'm included in that, in the sense of trying to tap dance for her love.
Because, like you said, the
Mhm.
people that she was going after before
Mhm.
was the bad boy, and that's
Mhm.
what stereotypically a lot of women go for.
Mm-hmm.
After a whole bunch of bad boys, a failed relationship with bad boys, they find themselves a Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm. Assuming they can see the Clark Kent, because there's a lot of Clark Kents that they don't know that can be someone else. There's a lot of or even better to bring it home. There's a lot of Okaruns who are actually Ken Takakura in hiding.
I do want to say something, and I want both of you guys' opinion on this.
Mhm.
So there's this experiment that was done. I think it was in the 70s or
Oh,
something
I
like
know. I
that.
think I know you're about to say. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I
Like
think I
the
know you're
bridge
talking about
experiment.
the
You know what
what?
I'm talking? The bridge experiment. Have you heard of that?
I don't know the name of it, but I think I know what you're talking about. Cook.
So yeah, so it's definitely this famous study. I think it was by Dalton and Aaron or something like that. And these people
Jaeger?
met Aaron
Jaeger?
Jaeger.
Aaron Jaeger. Come on, Attack on
No, 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 no.
Titan.
Aaron with an A. That's why I was
Wrong. Sorry, go on.
confused. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so it was done. It showed that people who met an attractive stranger on a high, shaky bridge were more
Oh no, I
were
don't know.
more likely to report romantic attraction
Mm.
compared to those who met the same stranger on stable ground.
Mm.
So it goes. My point by bringing up that study is before Ayase and Ken got into that dangerous situation.
Hmm.
remember, and they were in school. I don't think there's an infatuation. I don't think Ayase had romantic interest for Ken before they got into danger. So my question is, do you think that it's because of this dangerous, and I think the phenomenon is called a perilous love, because we find ourselves in danger
Hmm.
and high emotion is probably why she liked Ken. Who
Mm.
knows? Do you think that's it? Because remember, prior to the danger, there wasn't that infatuation.
So I think I would actually, I would
Like
say this.
you know what
I
I'm
was
trying to say, right?
no, no. I would.
Like,
So you, there's a good point. You brought a really unique perspective and lens. In the sense of, with regards to dynamic, it started off on a shaky bridge, right? Because she jumped in to protect him when he was about to be bullied. So in that sense, there was already a shaky bridge in the initial inception of them getting to know each other. So really and truly, there's a shaky bridge from the beginning up until now, if you will, if you get what I'm saying. So I think that also heightened their mutual emotion. Like the bridge was more so shaky for Okarun because he was being bullied, and then when Ayase was in danger, that was her side of the shaky bridge. If you get what I'm saying, and because of that, it heightened both of their emotions. In theory,
oh, that's a very interesting perspective. Yeah, I can get behind that.
yeah. And I and and so you had that mutual attraction with each other that I love so much in terms of their dynamic. Like I said, they're both wanting to see each other. They're both wanting to talk to each other. And you saw throughout the day in that episode. I think it was like maybe I think it was 5 because it was before Acrobat Silky and everything happened. They were trying to find each other throughout the school, and I was like, this is that energy I want. Well, I mean, I have it, but you know what I mean? This is the energy I want. Like, you want someone who's looking for you, who's looking forward to talking to you, and looking for you just as much as you're looking for them. As opposed to you are trying to find her and she hasn't even looked up at her phone, right? You're on a date with her and, or you're trying to. One of the things I tell a lot of my young guys I work with, they might even be listening to this episode, and any man, is that, like, if you're not sure she doesn't like you, it's as simple as that. If you're
He
not
doesn't
sure,
like you.
she doesn't like you. It's as simple as that. If you have to wonder or guess, she doesn't like you. Now, unfortunately, a lot of young men, like, if you're finishing work and she's not already excited to talk to you over the phone as soon as you finish work, or as soon as you walk in the door, she's not running to you in excitement, she doesn't like you. Well, she doesn't have to run to you to the door like every time you come home, but you get the idea. If she's not excited to see you as much as you're excited, she doesn't like you. Now, unfortunately, like, even for me with my experience, my early experience with Deb, is that a lot of men go through their life like being an Okarun, being a Clark Kent, and no one really sees you and acknowledges your existence. And so it's hard to conceptualize the idea that a woman, and who can even be as beautiful as Ayase, right? That she wants to be around you, that she wants to be with you, that she wants to spend as much time with you as much as you want with her. Especially when we look at movies, like I said, Titanic, The Notebook, some of the unhealthy relationship of Naruto and Sasuke. I keep saying Sasuke, but, like, I'm not wrong. But I mean Naruto and Sakura. We see those unhealthy dynamics, right? Even I think about, like, some aspects of Final Fantasy 7, right? Like, Cloud Loki tried to join the military to get Tifa's affection, right? It's like, I need to do all these extra things and bring all this extra value. Not to say you shouldn't do anything, but you being who you are and trying to be a better version of yourself is already inherent value within itself. And because you don't see the value in that, you now have to feel like you need to perform all these extra things. Like I said, tap dance for her affection. If you're not sure if she canceled the date and she's not trying to reschedule with you and apologize for canceling the date, she doesn't want to go on a date with you. If you're not sure, she doesn't like you.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom to what you're saying there, because, like, it shouldn't be. Here's my theme. I'll say this from my experience with my current girlfriend.
Mm.
Nothing is difficult.
Man, this guy said it. Nothing is difficult, and it shouldn't have to be.
Like I seen someone said something similar, and someone posted in the comments, like, and it was a woman, and she posted something along the lines of, "Oh, no relationship is perfect," and it irks me that if somebody says my relationship has not been difficult, your immediate reaction is to go to something like negative. It should just be that.
They're probably annoying their need. You're probably a narcissist. I don't know, whatever it is.
The fact that I said my relationship is not difficult does not mean it's perfect.
Yep.
It just means it's not difficult.
Yep.
Like if I get into an argument with my girl,
Mhm.
it's not going to be something where it's like the next 3 days I'm walking on eggshells, or I'm trying to like make it up to her because we got into some stupid little argument over nothing, really.
Mhm.
There's none of that stuff going on. So it's just simple. Like she doesn't make my life any harder.
No,
And
Mhm.
when you look at Ayase's relationship with Ken,
Okarun.
outside of like all the what do you call it? The supernatural stuff,
Mhm.
their relationship is simple.
There's no having to drag her to go to the roof for them to eat. There's no pushback, right?
The only difficulty that they really suffered was caused by Ida.
Yo, she's a homewrecker for real.
That's a really good point. Debo said, because she would say stuff like, "Okay, meet me at the rooftop for lunch. Simple.
Yep.
I'll see you
Simple.
after school. Simple." And there's no pushback. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was actually gonna. You brought up a really good point for me, Jordan. I think it was in the episode 3 when they beat Turbo Granny, and they said sayonara, which means like more or less farewell. And sayonara means it's like it's very much like farewell. Like I may never, I won't see you indefinitely, or who knows next time I'm going to see you. And that's, they both said that. And Okarun Tenkakakura kept thinking to, they both kept thinking to themselves like, oh, should I have said that? Should I have said? They're both walking, well, she's about to go back inside. Ayase's about to go back inside. Okarun's like heading home on his bike, walking out of their home area. And they both kept thinking, oh, should I say sayonara? Should I say sayonara? Is that the right thing to say? And for Okarun, which goes back into a lot of young men, they don't see inherent value, and society doesn't tell them they have inherent value either, to be fair, is he didn't want to be a nuisance to her, right? A lot men, we kind of operate under this self-sacrifice paradigm. I don't know if it's a biological thing, if it's a nurture thing. We all tend to operate in this like self-sacrificing, frame of mind, right? Like even where did he say it? Oh yeah, like Okarun, like when they were about to go face Turbo Granny again, when he realized like he's still missing, he has his shaft, but he's still missing his nutsack, his kintama. He said to her, when this is all over, you can go back to ignoring me again, right? That's how a lot of like, oh, like I know you're tolerating me right now, because that's what we often think, and especially for beautiful, pretty women, like, oh, she's tolerating me. There's no way she would want to be around me. And I can think of a lot of experience growing up, because I definitely struggle with self-esteem issues, especially since I was told by like women in my family, that in my immediate family, is that like no woman would no attractive, and especially no attractive Black woman would ever want to be with someone like me, because I smile and I'm happy and I'm joyful and I like playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And so I think back to a lot of experience I had with a lot of young women were girls, because I was in my teens, and even like I kind of came out of this mindset into my late teens, early 20s, where I would generally be bewildered by women wanting to talk to me. Well, girls and women wanting to talk to me, because I'm like, you're attractive. Why would you want to talk to quote unquote a loser like me? Right. And you could even see that scene where after the Turbo Granny, so they both had that interaction where they said sayonara, and then after it was Ayase going on what Debo said. Ayase said matane, which means see you tomorrow or see you later, as opposed to sayonara, like goodbye, quote unquote, good riddance. I'm gonna go back to ignoring you. C said went out of her way to say, I'll see you tomorrow. And that lit up Okarun. He's like, oh my gosh, she's actually still wants to talk to me, even though she said she's not gonna do it, but she actually made it once again very clear. There's no misinterpretation of, is she gonna say hi to me? I don't know. Does she want to see me tomorrow? No, she does. And she's not gonna hide it. She's looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And then the next day came, there, Ayase standing at the school gate, looking good, and Okarun, being his shy, introverted self, is walking to school. He sees her, and she's like, oh, and even before as he's walking, he's even just like, oh, how do I say good morning? Like, and this goes back into men cold approaching, where you don't know you have to think of, well, okay, she's gonna grab her bag, and I'm gonna tell her bag is nice, and then we're gonna start a conversation, and then I'm gonna do this, and you know how like we live in our heads, especially for those of us who are very cerebral. I used to do that. I used to make up the scenarios of how I'm going to talk to whoever she is. And so eventually he sees her, and he's like, there's no way a girl like her would want to, who's popular, who's pretty, who'd want to be around me, would wait for me at the school gate to walk to school together. No way. So you know what I'm going to just do? I'm going to just walk by her. I'm going to walk by her because I don't want to, once again, I don't want to be a nuisance to her, because I'm obviously a nuisance for who I am. I don't have any inherent value, and she does. She's popular, she's pretty, she's smart, everyone likes her. She has tons of friends. She could be around anyone she wants to. There's no way someone want to be around someone like her would want to be around me. Even like going back one of his quotes, he's like, is it okay for someone like you to help me? So we as men operate under like kind of like a hierarchy where pretty, beautiful, well-esteemed women are above us for the most part. And we have to, quote unquote, it's kind of true and kind of not, we have to build ourselves up to be with her. And so if we're not, quote unquote, there yet, which would be something we're going to talk about in Freyrin, I shouldn't be talking to her. I shouldn't even try to associate with her. I shouldn't disturb her, which goes kind of into cold approaching, where you don't want to disturb her. You don't talk to her because you don't want to be a nuisance to her. I'm going to just walk by her. And what does Ayase do? Going back on what Baba Debo said, she turns around, doesn't take it personally, and she bumps into him, and she's like, hey, good morning. I'm glad to see you.
That part right there about her not taking it personally.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, how many women would have snapped in that moment?
This Negro didn't
That
say
part.
hi. Who the hell does he think he is?
It's like she understood exactly why he did what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't make a thing of it.
Yep.
And that's what I mean when I say making it easy.
Mm-hmm. And
Why do you?
sorry, go on. I don't know who was talking just now.
No, it was me. I was just gonna ask, why do you think Ken calls Ayase Miss Ayase and not Ayase Khan or
Ayase
something
Chan.
like,
Well, I
or
would say
Ayase Chan?
that's
Yeah.
a great question. From what I would say, Chan is very like affectionate, very close, very much I kind of quote unquote love you type of terms. San is very honorific, it's very respectful, right? Like it's just like it's like what you'd call your manager, right? And so from what I can see with Okarun is that he holds Ayase to high esteem. Like I said, she's very pretty, she's very popular, she's very smart, which is why, and it goes into like how us men operate under hierarchies, right? Like we know who's ranked, who is stacked above us. We know inherently, unless you genuinely have delusion, you know which woman you have a chance with, for the most part, or that you think you might have a chance with, depending on, like I said, your level of self-esteem versus delusion. And so for her, he's like, oh, this woman is of this stature, and I need to give her the proper respect that she deserves. That's what I would say. Versus when he's in his Turbo Granny form, he's just like, I'm going to talk how I want. I'm not really going to shy about. That's actually the thing. You always talk about how he feels, right? Even though he's always like, oh man, I'm molting. Oh man, I'm depressed. Oh man, I'm irritated. Oh man, I want to go home. This is actually like some of his feelings that he doesn't quite bring to the forefront. That's my thoughts on it. Why he says Momo-chan instead of like Ayase-san.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the level of respect that he has for her.
Hmm.
I find it interesting because I feel like when he says Miss Ayase, it's more just geared to Western viewers.
Okay.
Because the same, I mean, the same can be said, Khan or Chan, the same can be said for in that case too. That's also demonstrating a high level of respect.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. And that's that. Like I said, that goes back into that whole concept of hierarchy, right? Where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
she's this level of esteem, and I guess you could say in a way, I'm just lucky to talk to her. But the thing with Ayase is because she wasn't like quote unquote born pretty, she doesn't lead with it, right? She leads with who she is, and then she just happens to know how to look good and dress well, and that creates a very healthy dynamic, right? She doesn't see herself as above him. She doesn't like necessarily correct him per se. It doesn't bother her. But she doesn't correct him when he said, when in his turbo granny form he says Momo-chan, or when he's being hit, or when he's like quote unquote normal and he says Ayase-san. She doesn't correct him for either. She's okay with
Yeah.
either. Hmm.
Yeah. The only reason why I was really confused with the whole Miss thing, because number one, this is, Japanese animation show. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And number two, depending how you spell Miss,
Hmm.
you're basically saying this is an
Oh,
unmarried young woman.
oh, that's fair. That's fair. That's actually a
So
good point.
this
That's actually a good point.
that's why I was just really confused when he's just calling her Miss Ayam, because we don't even say, oh, like Miss Deborah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
you're right.
we can say that now because she's married, but usually you won't call an unmarried young woman Miss. It just sounds weird and awkward.
Yeah,
You know what I
well,
mean?
and that's the interesting thing about Okarun is that he's very formal, right? And so for him, he wants to give all the due respect that he feels Ayase deserves, which is a good talking point because you remember when he said like when this is all over, um, you can go back to ignoring me, you can go back ignoring me again, and it's very self-deprecating, very putting yourself down, which goes back into his issues of self-esteem. And like I said, it spoke to a lot of his experience spoke to mine, where I would be like, why is this girl talking to me? She must be confused because she has all these other guys who are interested in her, who want to be with her, who want to be around her. And here this girl is talking to me, right? Even going back on the whole, walking past her past the gate, I didn't think Deb liked me for like, I didn't realize Deb liked me until she like made it very explicitly clear. So once again, it's not supposed to be difficult. I assumed so with her because she's very attractive. I assume she was just, and this goes into like my experience with other very attractive women, is that I assumed she was just a nice, pretty girl. So a lot of people don't realize that like being a very attractive woman and being nice, it's it has a way of making your life very difficult. Where like every guy you give a pencil to, or you give a water bottle to, or you hold the door for as well, he's gonna be thinking, oh, she wants the dick. She wants the D. She wants it. And it's like, no, she doesn't. She's just being a nice person, and she just happens to be very physically attractive. She doesn't. She doesn't want your D, sir. I'm
But
sorry.
Yep.
that shows the sad reality for for your average man, where it's like he has no genuine reactions with women, that just receiving a pencil from a pretty woman is enough for him to think, oh shit, she likes me.
Yep. 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 It's true.
Debo, when did you realize with you and your partner that she actually liked you and you didn't have to double guess?
So I think that's a good question for both Debo and I. For me, it was. I remember Deb and I were having this conversation. We used to work in the same place. We are in the office together, and we were talking about social media. And she asked me what my status was. Keep in mind, she was like on her phone. Now that I think about it, I don't know if she was looking at my account, but she asked me what my status was. And I assumed she was talking about, so like, I should also contextualize this. I asked her to have a conversation with me, and I was thinking of asking her out on a date, but I was just like, honestly, she's just a pretty girl, and she has a lot. She almost every guy at this community center has probably hit on her. I found out that was actually the case, like months later during COVID, when we were together for like 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And so for me, I didn't want to like kind of approach her from that standpoint. So I'm like, let me keep this strictly business because she has like a huge social media following, and I was starting up Black in her talks. And so what ended up happening was we were sitting in the office. I was talking to her about social media. she later told me she was expecting to ask her out on a date, but she enjoys talking about social media, so that's why she spoke with me. And from that standpoint, she was asking like, well, at some point she asked me, she ended up saying, said this first. She's like, I'm really clear. If I like a guy, tell him. So once she said that, I'm like, okay, clearly she doesn't like me. She has not made any, as I like to call it now, choosing signals, because it's back in 2019. We didn't come up with that term until now. So she clearly doesn't like me. So eventually she was asking what my status was. And I was just like, well, if you look on my social media account, it shows that I've tied Black Nerd Talks to my private account and my main account. And she was just like, that's not what I meant. And I was like, oh, I had to clutch my pearls. I was shooketh. I was like, oh, you mean romantically. And that's when I knew she meant romantically. So once again, she's not going to make it hard. If you have to guess, she doesn't like you. And then I'll pass on to Baba Dibble in terms of his story.
So for me, if you go by what women claim they want online, the first indication that she liked me was she was absolutely fine with going to Dairy Queen for our first date.
Oof.
Number one.
Oh, no. We're going to Cheesecake Factory talk? Go on.
Number two, again, going on what women say they want. As we pulled up to the Dairy Queen, I hopped out the car and I started patting myself. I was like, oh shit, I left my wallet in the car. I turned around to go get it. She said, don't worry about it. I got it.
Classic move, Debo. Classic.
Wow. That's crazy, Jordan.
And then the thing that sealed it for me, like, remember, what do you call it?
I know the story. They don't know the story. I know the story.
Jerry Maguire. Mm-hmm. What was the famous line for Jeremy? You had me at okay or something like that.
I actually haven't watched The Wire yet. I've watched
Jerry Maguire.
Okay.
There's the famous scene when he's at the door pleading his love for her, and he goes into a whole monologue about how he's sorry, blah 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 blah, and she goes, "You had me at okay," and like that was like one of the first things she said. So me and my girl were having this conversation, and it was basically me telling her like I want to get back in shape and start playing basketball again. She just out the blue volunteered to rebound for me as I just take jumpers.
No, you have to give the quote. You have to give the quote. Say the quote.
I was like, oh my God, she had me at our rebound for you. Like, that was it for me. Like, you're willing to sit in the gym and just watch me take jumpers. It's like, remember the Drake line? But you wasn't shooting, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym.
Yep.
She would be there.
Yeah.
My girl would be there happily.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Any happy marriage I know or happy relationship, it stems from her just making it easy for you, and she makes it very clear. She's not trying to make your life difficult because she wants to be with you as much as you want to be with her, maybe even more, right? And so
that also helps.
Sorry, go on,
that helps a lot. If she likes you more than you like her, that helps a lot.
Yep. And yeah, that's exactly it. And so for me, that's what really made it clear for me that she liked me. And here we are today. But it stemmed from her making it easy, as opposed to, like, I think I was talking to my ex at the time. She was for all intents and purposes, she was like, yeah, that's a good point, actually. She was like Ida before Okarun, transformed and saved her. She even only started having, she only wanted to be with me after she saw me in a relationship after that, right? There's some women who they're okay with you being around them and, serving their main character energy mindset until you decide to move on. Then she's like, wait a minute. What do you mean? You're an NPC. You only like exist when I walk into a room and you get rent. Like when you're playing a game and when you go as you enter another time, it starts rendering and loading. You're not supposed to exist until I walk into a room and you like load and render into my game, which is all about me, right? After that, you're supposed to, unload, and then I'll come back and you'll reappear again as my NPC supporting cast member. And so that's one of the things that I loved about their interactions, the fact that she's always very intentional and very clear about wanting to be around him. Um, and with regards to Okarun, I wanted us to talk about this too. Is that like for most, I don't know who I get. I would suspect like maybe Ayase is more of the main character, maybe like Okarun is more of the Deuteragonist, Kenta Kakura. But I would say like compared to most MC's main characters, like actual main characters, Okarun is very emotionally intelligent compared to most like main characters in anime and shonen. And you could see that really sends Ayase for like a loop when like he just makes it really clear. Like I'm trying to find the quote. Where is it? Oh yeah, like when they were arguing, after they accidentally kiss slash bang their teeth with each other, he was telling her, oh, like when he was explaining why he said all those mean things to her, he said, I was just provoked, so it was just a retort. To be honest, I just wanted to talk to you more than anything, Miss Ayase. So is it that embarrassing to be friendly to me? And you could see like Ayase didn't know how to handle it. She wasn't ready to deal with how emotionally expressive Okarun is compared to all the other guys that she's dealt with. So I asked this question, and there's another part like in the last episode where he's like, I want to make things really clear to you no matter what. And you can see like she doesn't know how to deal with it. So it goes into question like a lot of women love quote unquote emotionally intelligent or aware men. And it's like the thing I've seen and I experienced in my own relationship is that like I remember when Deb and I first started dating and she would list a complaint and I would apologize and adjust. And she's like, that's it? You're just gonna apologize? I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that hurt your feelings. And she's like, so you're just gonna apologize like that? And then you're gonna fix it like that? I don't have to like remind. I'm like, no, why would I ask you to do that? Like that's not fair to you. This thing upset you, so I'm sorry, and I won't do it again. And she didn't know how to deal with it. She was ready to come in and have an argument. She was ready for it, and then it never happened. She was like, I don't know what to do with all this energy. And some of my female friends, when they're in a relationship with like great guys, they're like, I don't actually know. He just apologized, and now I don't know what to do with all this energy. So it's like, do you like to kind of like how guys we like the idea of girls like Ida, like the IG models, but it's like, are you ready to deal with that? And a lot of women like the idea of like this emotionally intelligent, aware man. It's like, are you ready to deal with someone who you don't have to fight with? Like he's not going to engage in chaos. He's just level-headed. He's
I would
aware.
I
Sorry.
would argue a lot of women only think they know what emotional intelligence is.
Oh, this guy's. Are you about to cook?
Perhaps
Perhaps. Okay.
because it seems like, well, I can't take credit for this. You could go online and see a whole bunch of people say similar things to what I'm about to say, but it's like just because you can identify your emotions doesn't mean that you're necessarily good at regulating them. Just because you can go through a whole range of emotions doesn't mean that you are better at regulating them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would argue most men are more emotionally intelligent than most women.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
an unpopular opinion, but I would argue that is the case.
Because you do have to restrain it more, to be fair. There is more consequences to male emotional outbursts than women, societally.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason because there are way more repercussions from a negative emotional outburst from a man.
So
That's a good.
Debo said something very interesting before. He said it helps, or at least it's better, at least when you have a woman who likes a man more, as opposed to the reverse, when you have a man who likes a woman more. I wanted to ask, but then women often make the same argument and they say, no, it's best if the man likes you more as opposed to when you like them more.
Yeah,
Or
this
what
is
do you guys
whole.
think about that?
Yeah, I seen that online when I first started getting exposed to like Kevin Samuels and similar content like that. Is like this whole get him to like you more than you like him, and you shouldn't text first, and it's all very foolish for lack of a better word, because then it's very exhausting. I never like played into this stuff. Like if you think like I'm desperate to talk to you because I responded to your text immediately, which some women did actually think I was obsessed with them because I responded to their text immediately. But it's just like, no, I'm just on my phone right now. The moment I turn on my PlayStation, I'm not going to responding as quickly. So you should probably use this hour up where I'm not gaming to respond, because the moment I turn on my PlayStation and I start playing like God of War, Guilty Gear, I'm not responding to you as much. Sorry, bro. I think most I think you should just find someone as close to a mutual attraction as there is possible. And to find that mutual attraction is just someone who makes it the courtship process, or your relationship slash life with them, or and your life too, difficult. If she's making it difficult, if you're not sure, she doesn't like you. It's as simple as that. Now if she's making your life easier, there you have it. That's what I would say to it. It for the most part, you should try and find like as mutual as possible. I'll pass on to Baba Debo.
Yeah, I just feel from a male perspective in a relationship, especially where marriage is concerned, the man has more to lose. So it's in your best interest to make sure she really, 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 really likes you. And if she likes you more than you like her, even better.
I would,
You
I
just
would,
got to make sure that you don't abuse that relationship dynamic.
yeah. So I wanted to kind of touch on that, and I would add a step further. She likes you for who you are,
Bingo.
not for what
Because
you
if she
provide.
likes you for what you are doing or can do, it's just a matter of time before you have to keep reproducing, reproducing, reproducing to keep up,
And
to
it's
keep that love.
unsustainable.
That's the part right there. It's not sustainable. Or it'll eventually get to that point.
Yeah, you'll eventually like you can't sustain the charade. Like just think like if you just look at the little concept of tap dancing, you can't tap dance forever. Your muscles will give out at some point. You cannot do it indefinitely. And on top of that, there's always going to be someone who can do more of whatever you're doing. There is someone who can outperform you in whatever it is. You're not number one for everything, and even if you are number one, you won't be number one forever. Eventually, you will be outperformed, right? Like there's some. I've been out, and going back on like what we kind of said about the Ira stuff, like with Deb, like I've had at least two different occasions, at least that she told me, where we're out, and because I wasn't within her vicinity, men have approached her. One time, she got mad at me for it, and we were in Fort Lauderdale, and she got mad about me about it, and I was like, to be honest with you, I didn't know if I walked away from you for 5 minutes, you were gonna get hit on, seemingly by a homeless person. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was like that, but like I've had those situations with her, and I've seen some very attractive men who that we're talking with, like they're taller than me, they're more muscular than me, they're making more money, and then without even like having to have this conversation with them, because you think, oh, maybe because he's more muscular and taller and well kept and whatnot, that she would be attracted to those guys, maybe even more than me. And then she'd be like, yeah, the way this guy's, and this goes back into what Ayase is looking for in terms of integrity with regards to guys, is that Deb, without me ever having a conversation, I'm just thinking about it, right? Not to say I'm insecure, I'm just thinking about like, oh, this guy has a lot going for it, right? Compared to me. Deb would be like, this guy's conceited. This guy, all he spoke about the whole time we were talking with him was about himself and what he wants to do. I can't be with a guy like that. She would, we won't even before I could even, I'm even though I won't even bring it up, she would just tell me that like I could never be with a guy like that. He's just way too about himself. I can't. The reason, and then she'll even maybe occasionally add a point like, this is one of the reasons why I'm with you is because you're so considerate of others. You never make things about you. And once you just have that level of security and confidence, you're good. As opposed to like, oh, she might leave me for, if she wants to leave you, she will. There's nothing you can do to stop her. The only woman that you can stop leaving you is a woman that wants to be with you.
Yeah, I told my friend this the other day too. My
Mhm.
friend is currently dating this very attractive woman, and he had this very Ken like attitude, and he kept saying, "I don't know why this woman is with me, Jordan. Why do you think she's with me? Do you think she's gonna leave?" And it's funny because just speaking to your point, I told him the exact same thing. I said, "Listen, all she needs to do, she's 2 clicks away from a DM.
Yep.
You just open Instagram and you click that right corner, that right corner
Yep.
icon, and that's it. That's all it takes for her." I
Mm-hmm.
said, if she wants to leave, she would easily leave. Like
Mm-hmm.
it, nothing will stop her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can see how his confidence came back, but it's just so funny because uh, this speaks to just how extremely beautiful women can make really any man self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Because and it really doesn't take much because we don't have that reinforcing kind of, how do I say it, encouragement
Yeah.
where they say, you know what, you're worthy as a man, or you're
Speaking life into
deserving.
them and telling them how good looking and how you're just full of inherent worth. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we are told that, we will never forget it. We will never forget it. We could be 40, 50 years old. We're going to bring up stories from when we were 20
Remember
years
that
old and
time
being told,
when
and
we
we've
were
been
like in
told that.
Mexico and she told me my hair looked nice? It's like, bro, that was 26
I'm
years
like,
ago.
I'm like,
Yeah.
man, you're bald now. Come on.
Huh?
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I thought you called me bald. I was like, wait, whoa, whoa. Do you not see these waves, bro? Sorry, go on, Jordan. Silky. You guys can't even see it if you're listening.
I definitely keep a catalog of all the amazing interactions I've had with women in terms of like whether it's them like picking me up as opposed to me approaching them or whatnot. And I'm pretty sure most guys do. You just have like a Rolodex of memories of all the
Yep.
times where they had like, I guess, what can you call it, where they were the that nigga moment
Mm-hmm.
where some random woman out of the blue just made him feel like that nigga,
Yep.
whether it's for the day, a week, or whatever. If it's
I actually have an example, but I'll say mine after. Sorry, go on.
oh, if we're gonna bring up examples, let me bring up mine.
Mm.
I was in a club in North Bay, Ontario, and to my right, there was absolutely nothing. Sitting at the bar, there's absolutely nothing going on there to my right.
Mm-hmm.
To my left was all my boys. So I'm whole attention is on my boys. We're just laughing it up, shooting the shit. Turn to my right, again, there's nothing. Go back, have the conversation with my boys. Turn to my right again, there's a napkin. There's a lipstick kiss on the napkin
Oh,
with a girl's name and number.
jeez.
I was I took up the napkin, I showed it to my boys, like, what the fuck is going on? Is this like a joke?
There we go.
Like this shit only happens in movies. Like, where's the cameras at?
Yep.
And I'm like one of 20 people in North Bay, one of 20 black people in North Bay. So I'm really
Yep.
on the lookout for this
Where's
camera.
what's it called? What's Ashton Kutcher's thing called? Punked? Was it?
Yes. And this was
Yeah. Where's
around the punk times too. So I'm like, yo, what? No, it can't be my moment. Where's the camera at?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
know.
if you get that moment, you will remember it.
Yeah. You're actually think of so fun facts. Jordan, you don't know this, but I actually thought Deb was um a plant from my former employer to kind of get me fired. Did I ever tell you about that?
No, that's something crazy. That's reasonable though,
Okay.
considering the
Okay.
context.
That's how paranoid men
Yeah,
get.
because like, why is she talking to me? Like I said, that whole interaction of Okarun walking past Ayase, a lot of men will do that, or have done that, or will do that because you're like, why is she? There's no conceivable way this woman is or girl is excited, looking forward to, and interested in me. There's no way. Something must be wrong. I remember even Okaru's like, oh, she's. Did we ever get to a point where we'd be waiting for each other at the gate? I mean, we never talked about that. There's no way she'd be doing that for me. She's obviously doing this for someone else. The same thing for me, going back, like I said, there's no way Deb is interested in me. She's just being friendly, right? Or even when she was interested in me, I'm like, So like to give context, I was still dealing with my false allegation. I was still under investigation, right, by my employer. So here is this other young woman, black woman, and some of them who falsely accuse me are black. This young black woman who is interested in me and actively engaging with me around this same time of this investigation. And this is February, March, April, 3 months after the investigation started.
Yeah, that's enough to make a man paranoid for sure.
Yeah, I was like, and then you also working there too, and then here's a weird part. I asked her because like the person who falsely accused me. That's funny. The person
You
who
thought it was
falsely
a Jerry Springer sexy decoy?
bro, I was trying to figure out. 'Cause I'm like that, and what's the weird part about it is that Deb didn't hear those rumors about me because a woman who falsely accused me, she also like wanted to reputation slander or reputation. I forgot the right term. I think it's reputation slander, right? She started spreading rumors about me. So people who I've never even met were hearing about me. So here is this woman, and this kind of what made Deb kind of stand out to me. Deb never heard about anything about me, even though I'm working in the same center as her. Part of the reason why Deb never heard about me is because this is the reason why Deb caught my attention, is the fact that when she was done work, she would bounce. The moment she's done work, she'd leave. She didn't stay to gossip like the other women at work. She would just finish work and leave. And because she's very beautiful, like I said, I also thought this woman's young. She's beautiful. She's very attractive. She's well-spoken. She's very nice. Obviously, she has a boyfriend. There's no way this woman, one, is single. And even if she was single, there's no way she'd be attracted to me. A quote-unquote regular guy, a quote-unquote nobody. I don't have any esteem. No one tells me I have esteem. So there's no way that she'd be interested in me or wants to talk to me, let alone want to be my girlfriend. There's no way. So it was only until she was like, what is your status? That's when I was like, oh, you do like me. Didn't conceive it. So even for me, I was having a conversation with one of my close female friends. I was telling her how like she's very attractive. So she's used to it's one of the mutual people Jordan and I know. And I was telling her that most men go through, no, that's an underestimation. Pretty much all men go through their whole life with no one ever telling them how good looking they are or anything positive about them. Especially unless the only time you do get that is like, the occasional accomplishment of something, right? You graduated from something, you did this, you got this. So unless that happened, you don't really get a compliment. She didn't really quite understand. And so I gave her the example. So from 0 to 14, no one ever told me, so people can't really see this, even people who are watching, but people who know me in person know I have like light brown eyes. Me being like mixed, half Trinidad, half Nigerian. So I have light brown eyes. No one told me I had nice eyes until middle school. And no one actually explicitly told me. I still have the certificate for it. Kind of go back on what Debo said. I have the certificate because everyone in my class got different awards. And I didn't even think I would get an award. I think everyone was supposed to get one. I didn't even think I would get an award. Going back on the girl walking by you. Even like Valentine's Day, I don't expect to get cards. And I got the award for best eyes in middle school. Keep in mind, I'm going with schools with other like white kids and other kids of different ethnicities. I got the award in my classroom for the best eyes. I didn't understand. I thought it was a mistake. At the age of 14, I was like, what? I remember this being handed to me, and keep in mind, I had no riz. So like, it's not like I have like any girlfriend. So I'm just like, what do you mean best eyes in the class? Like all the other guys are getting all the girls, and I have somehow the best eye. This doesn't make sense. Once again, is this? Where's the cameras? Where's the cameras? Is this punked? Are you guys about to tell me what's going on? And then from 14, keep in mind, I had like 2 girlfriends in this time span. Well, 1 girlfriend, and then like until my first girlfriend, my first like actual relationship at university, I think she might have complimented my eyes once, right? It wasn't exactly the most healthy relationship. I think she might have told me I have nice eyes once. And it was only until really and truly I got with them at the age of 30. So from 0 to 14 and from 14 to about 30, no one really told me I had nice eyes. Even though it's like a very prominent feature of mine that like I like, Deb reminds me of all the time. No one told me this up until I started really dating Deb. And Deb would tell me, oh, your hair is nice. Your hair texture is really amazing. You have really clear skin. You have really beautiful eyes. Like no one ever told me that. So that, and only telling her that because she's used to getting compliments. That friend, she's used to getting compliments all the damn time because she's very attractive. So for her, a lot of women impose their lived experience on men, especially once again if you're attractive. So you're like, if I'm attractive and he's attractive and I find him very attractive, he must be getting as much compliments as me. No, he may have gotten maybe two, and he probably has it in his like little like folder of compliments he got throughout his life that he cherishes.
Have you ever been auctioned off?
Nope. What?
Like those things where it's like you like they auction off bachelors.
No, maybe I've heard of it, but no, I've never been auctioned off. Or actually, no, I do know what you're talking about. Like, I remember I've seen those kind of things. I think maybe in high school and stuff, where like you'd say, "Oh, I bid for go on a date or be with this person." Is that what you're kind of
Exactly.
talking? Yeah.
Exactly. So I did it in high school. The amount of anxiety that I had about
Mm,
being auctioned off. Like,
no one would
please
want
don't
you
let me get sold for some stupid amount of money.
or last.
Boom. That was my whole mind frame the whole time leading up to the auction. I was like, please don't let me be sold for the lowest amount of money. And please don't let me be sold for the low.
Mm,
This was high school, so I'm like, yo, $25. Give me
Oh
$25 and I'm good.
no. I'm
yeah, I
sorry,
know
I'm
what one.
laughing
Yeah,
at
yeah.
your trauma, but oh no.
Give me $25 and I'm good.
Yep.
At that time, that's 5 movies.
Yep.
Depending on where you're going, that's 5 movies. If
Yep.
you're going with a date,
Cheeky Tuesday.
that's 4 movie. That's 2 movie dates. And one of those dates, you get to buy a little snack for you
Yep.
and your girl.
Yep.
So I'm like, at least let me go for $25.
You guys want to hear something funny?
Hold on. Let me finish the story. I want to see the story, and then and then
Oh,
you're
story's
next.
basically done. I think I ended up getting sold for either the highest or the second most. So
Wow.
I was saved. My ego got boosted a little bit,
Yep.
but the anxiety leading up to it was crazy.
Yep. Where you're just like once again tolerating, like, I think I kind of want him $5, right? And then being the second most, you're like, wait, I once again you're like, is this punked? Like, what's going on? But yeah, Jordan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I've wait, I think Debo, you said you've been auctioned off for $25.
Uh-oh.
No,
Was it?
I
He's
said
worried.
I hope I go for no lower than 25. Like let that be the minimum. I can live with being auctioned off for $25 as a high school boy at the time.
Mine was I remember I think I was like 10 or something. I was in middle school, and a girl mind you, back then my voice was exactly, have you guys heard Mickey Mouse voice? My voice was exactly like Mickey Mouse.
Yikes.
I don't yeah, I don't know what happened, but it was exactly like Mickey Mouse, and I think I was probably voted as one of like the most annoying kids. And I remember I couldn't say two sentence, because if I said two sentence, somewhere down the line someone would just say shut up. I'll hear shut up from somewhere. I don't know
Sorry. I shouldn't be laughing either.
I don't know where, but someone would
Mhm.
always say, I'll say something, I'll express myself, boom, shut up. Shut, like the shut up is coming. And I remember I will never forget this. It was this one girl out of the blue. I think it was after school hours, and she comes up to me, and she says, "Oh, let's uh make me make me your girlfriend or something. Let's go on a date." And in my mind, I'm like, "Wait, what? Like, what's going on?" And I have this high voice. I'm like, "What? Like, what do you mean? Like, like I'm confused." I have this laughing.
I should be like, what do you mean?
I was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like,
This guy's a
"You and I."
Kingdom Hearts character. That's crazy. Hmm.
No, I was definitely a cartoon character, and I'm looking at this girl, and I'm like, "Well, you don't even know anything about me." She's like, "No, but I want to be in a relationship with you," and I should have took that as a red flag, because I've never really spoke to this girl. We don't really know each other like that, and I should have suspected that there was something going on.
Mm.
But because I've never had a wait, did I have a girlfriend? Yeah, I never had a girlfriend before. An official girlfriend. I just said yes, sure, whatever. And
Mhm.
later on, my friend tells me, "Oh no, she only went out with you on a dare or something like that."
There we
And
go.
then I remember, I think it was like 3, 4 years later, somehow I go through puberty, and then this one girl calls me, and then she's like, "Hey, can I speak to Jordan?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Jordan." And she's like, "Who is this?" "You're not Jordan. Pass the phone to Jordan." And I'm like, "Wait,
Mhm.
what? Like, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "This is Jordan." It's like, and then she thought I was trolling her, and then she hangs up, and I call her back, and I said, like, what do you want? And then she's like, "Oh my gosh, you are Jordan." And then I don't know, I just got popular ever since. It was just so funny. It's just like something like your voice. I don't. It wasn't even the looks or anything, but just something like your voice. If it's off-putting,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, you are screwed.
Mhm.
You are screwed. So yeah, I've never ever had an experience like that ever again since I was like 10. But it it was one of those experiences where definitely as a man I can never forget.
Yeah. Yeah. It, like I said, I still keep the certificate. This is from when was I in high school? This was in 2001, 2002. So this is like over 20 years ago. I have the certificate for. You can ask that. I still have the certificate for best school, best eyes in middle school. 0 to 14. That was the first like non. Your mom compliments you all the time, but like it's like it's mom, right? There's the first non-maternal compliment I got, and it wasn't even direct. It was just a certificate. All the girls voted. I had the best eyes. What? Never forgot it since. And yeah, I think that's a lot of the male experience where you're just undervalued until someone tells you you have value, and then you're just like what? But I would also say, like on the other standpoint, there's two other standpoints I'd also want to juxtapose this with, is that when Okarun, I think it was episode one when he was about to be bullied by the guys, Ayase stepped in, and you saw how like the guys kind of simmered down, right? And that's when they're like, oh, okay, well he knows her, we should back off. And then that's what made Okarun start wanting to talk with Ayase because she was the first person that was nice to him. I've had this conversation with a lot of the young men I've worked with, and it's something that I definitely struggled with. Is that she cannot validate your masculinity, whoever she is, to whoever it is. She cannot validate your masculinity. You have to find that within yourself. You have to stand up for yourself and determine what works for you and what doesn't. You can't hope that this pretty girl, and I've seen some of my young guys do this. They're like, oh, they'll bring her to church, they'll bring her to their school, whatever, just to say, hey, I'm with her. Because the idea is kind of like in the first episode. Oh, she's so pretty and she's with him. He must be of esteem. But especially for a woman or girl like Ayase who doesn't lead with her beauty, she doesn't want to be pedestalized. She wants to be seen as a normal person, and she wants someone who is secure in themselves, as opposed to looking for someone to come save her. She doesn't want to be put on a pedestal. She doesn't want to be your, for lack of, as much as we see these stuff on social media about like I want to be worshipped. She doesn't want to. It's double speak. She doesn't want to be worshipped. She doesn't want to be put on a pedestal. That's not what she's looking for. She's looking for a guy to treat her like a normal person. Because as the saying goes, if you treat her like if you treat her like a celebrity, she'll treat you like a fan. Treat her like a person. That's what she's looking for the most part. There are some women like Ida who generally want to have the ground that they walk on worship, but I can also tell you that that is unsustainable, and you're not a human. You're not going to be considered human in a relationship. You're going to be considered, a term I came up with, a doing being, because there's human beings, but for a lot of us men, how we're seen as we're doing beings, right? You're only being as long as you're doing something, right? That's when you're rendered, right? That's when you load in her life as an NPC. You're doing something. You're a doing being.
Human doing, not a human being.
Human. There we go. Human doing, right? Not a human being at all. She can't validate your masculinity. And also on the other standpoint is, which it's not talked about, and I've only seen this being in a relationship and seeing my, like I said, my female friends being in very long term committed relationships, is women are protective. We don't talk about this. Women can be very protective, almost downright scary and possessive of the men they want to be with, especially when they're in a relationship with them. Like they'll go through hell on earth just to make sure you're good. If they once again, if they want to be with you, right? Um, you saw how there was so many situations where, uh, actually, perfect situation was like, when Ida was secretly clowning on Okarun, right? Who stepped in? Ayase. She's like, not only did she drop the bucket telepathically on Ida's head, but she also went out of her way to specifically, which she genuinely meant it, but she always compliments Okarun, but she explicitly complimented the points that Ida was making fun of him for behind his back. His glasses, his appearance, his posture. She's like, "Oh, you look so sharp in your glasses. I'm so glad to be a pretty girl on your arm because not all these girls can see your worth, especially if they're stupid." And then she glares at Ida. We don't talk about that. Once again, this is a girl who wants to be with you, who sees value in you in terms of who you are. She will go to bat for you if anything happens. I have a situation as you guys are about to speak. I have a situation where I was at like a black event, a black poetry event, and a woman. I'm not gonna give all the context because it's too long, but the woman was like drinking a little bit. I think Jordan has seen this aspects of Deb more so. I know you haven't, Debo, because we just started spending time with each other more. Is that the woman touched my face, Jordan. I had to hold Deb back. I had to hold Deb back. She wanted to fight her. And I've never seen this side of Deb, but Deb wanted to fight her. Like, women will be protective over the men that they love. You're about to say something?
I think that's a universal black theme. You can't just touch black faces.
Fair.
Like I've never seen it where like you touch a random black face and it's not an issue.
Fair.
Like imagine.
Shoulder up is fighting.
Yeah. Like there's a baby and you touch a baby's face. Some random stranger touches a baby's face. That's gonna be a problem.
Confrontation. Off
That's
the
gonna
door.
be a problem.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, like I can imagine seeing a random stranger touch the face of a black woman's significant other. Yeah, it's problems.
Yeah, yo,
Problems for sure.
I was like, Deb, I was even like, Deb, it's okay. She's a little tipsy. Don't take a. Deb was like, nah. The woman
I've seen
ended up,
problems. Yes.
the woman ended up apologizing after for doing that. But I as soon as it happened, I was just like, Deb was just, yo, Deb was ready. I never see this time because she works with children. She's she's usually very like soft and very mindful, very very considerate, very demure, quote unquote. Like she's about that
I
life.
knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, I had to. It was perfect. It was a perfect segue. But to see that cipher, I was like, oh.
You want to see some ruthless aggression? Touch a black face without consent.
Literally what happened.
No, I knew Deb held on the fortress once, just by hearing, just the way she speaks about you.
Mm.
I think it was probably a couple weeks now. I had like a 2-3 hours conversation, and I think I touched on this point on our last podcast.
Mhm.
But the way she would talk about you, Eb, and be extremely protective, I it was something I was just like, wow. I mean, these sort of women exist. I mean, I did have that before, but once you have something like that, it doesn't come by too often. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
no, the way she spoke about you, Abby, it was beautiful to see because I was like, this is what black love is all about, and this is beautiful.
Thank you. I don't know if there's you make a good point about valuing something, but I don't know if before we get into that, like, is there any points that you want to say about the whole protective thing? Like, do you have experience that with your girl, Debo?
To be honest, I haven't been in a situation where
Mhm.
my girl would have to stand up for me like that.
Mhm.
But I have seen like
It happened with like
not
other
necessarily it
relationships.
happened. Just actually, yeah, it wasn't necessarily for me,
Mhm.
but it was for another one of her family members,
Mm.
and I saw the way that she was ready to get down.
Damn.
Yeah. So again, it's like you see the aggression come out when loved ones are impacted.
Mhm. It's true. It's true. And you know, this goes into the next point. You know, with episode 8, our boy Okarun, I tweeted about it. Okarun made an amateur mistake. He lied about where he was going and what he was doing. It was for genuine reasons, but it's like the last thing you want to do with a woman who cherishes you, and this goes back into cherishing her too. Don't take her for granted. Don't lie. It's easy to
I'm gonna
lie.
give you a little pushback.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a little pushback.
Okay.
Only because of the intention of the lie.
Explain. I don't understand.
Because there are lies that are done that could cause detrimental damage to a relationship, but
Okay,
are
I see you.
done for good intentions.
Okay,
Perfect
don't not
example.
necessarily lie.
Perfect example. You lie to a significant of your significant other because you want to throw them a surprise party.
Good point.
That's very similar to what Okarun's doing because he wants to surprise her with his newfound strength. That's what he's doing. He's training to get
Yep.
stronger so he can
Yep.
better protect her, and he wants to do it, and he wants to surprise her with the strength.
Yep.
So again, the intentions are good, but you know what they say about intentions: the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Especially if you have like home wreckers around you, like Ida. She's like, I will sabotage your relationship the moment I get this chance. No, that's exactly it. That's a good point, and I do agree. Like there's could be ways in which it's a good idea to lie, like you said, a surprise party. But overall, like you got to be careful with those things because if you're caught doing something that you're not doing that you said you're going to be doing, bro. Luckily, she's like with her. Like it would take a lot for her to, I say, for her to lose that respect and appreciation for Okarun. But it's just like you can lose a lot for just doing some stupid shit. And so I was thinking about that scene. I'm just like, man, you should have just told her you're gonna work out, bro. Should have just told her. Cause now Ida's like, do I see a weak point? Do I see an opening? And she's always that a woman like that, a girl like that is always gonna look for that opening, right? She's like, oh, I heard like she doesn't cook for you anymore. Let me just bring you food for work. It's like home wreckers, man, home wreckers. But she's just doing it for her own gain. She's not really doing it for you. She's using it because she wants what someone else has. And I say that in that specific words because you're a thing for her or a thing for him. They don't really want you like that, not for who you are. And so I just really, I thought that was also a great interaction because you don't want to take that cherishing and that respect and adoration for granted when it comes to her, whoever she is. You want to treat that, you want to cherish that. So even for me, like I don't mess around with my relationship with Deb because there's there's a lot of Debs out there, but like why risk the one I have? Why risk what I have for something else or someone else?
In retrospect, I guess he could. What he should have probably done
Mm-hmm.
is tell her that he did want to get stronger,
Mm-hmm.
but not tell her how he was going to go about it.
That's a good one.
Because if then in that situation, if he got caught, he was like, "I was training."
Yep. Because
And
even
then
when she saw him, sorry if I can interject, even when she saw him, and he's trying to explain like, oh, what the heck is on your wrist? He's like, is this some sort of kink play? He's like, no, I was working out. She's like, bro, you're lying.
Yeah, yeah. What did she mention something about? Oh, you're all hot and you're sweaty and whatever.
Oh yeah, that too. You're sweaty. You have things around your wrist. You're on top of her.
Yeah, so he'd be like I told you, I was working out. She came out of nowhere and tried to do some fuck shit. I can't speak for her, but I was working out. She obviously got to, she's
Mhm.
feeling your boy.
But I'm not entertaining that. No, that's exactly. I guess the better way would be to cover your bases.
Boom. Like I don't know if you know the comedian D. Ray Davis.
Maybe by face. Let
He
me search.
calls it pimp proofing your life.
Let's see. Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he was talking about like being S8 as a child with the older women, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, but he
Wait,
calls it pimp proofing your life.
Okay, explain. Break that down.
Ken did not pimp proof his life. A perfect example of how he is diabolical. I don't recommend it for anybody.
Okay.
But what he says is you basically have to pimp proof your life to ensure that if you are gonna cheat, you don't get caught.
Hmm.
And
And
you know
just
what? I'm not even going to no, I'm not even going to explain how he explains it. If you want to look it up, you can look it up.
there
But
you go.
in Okarun's case, all he had to do is just make sure that he did not put himself in a situation where if he's he put himself in a situation where it didn't look good what he was doing. He was
Yeah.
caught in a sticky situation. And if he explained to
The
her, yes,
stickiest of
I'm gonna
situations.
be trying to get stronger, when he did get caught, it would have been a lot easier to defend
Explain away as opposed
the
to
optics.
I'm gonna go. It was I have to write a report. It's like, bro, you're not even doing that.
Yeah.
I think, and even then, like him saying I'm writing, and let's say like the whole Iris situation didn't play out, she would have still looked at him sideways because she'd be like,
Yeah,
you said you were gonna write a report and you were working out. So how do I know when you say you're gonna do something, you're actually doing it?
exactly. This
Yeah,
is fact.
and like I said, when you're a man who like other women want, when you're with a woman and other women want you, you gotta. Well, how did we word it?
You gotta keep your girl secure.
Exactly, because that situation, I'm like, you could have avoided Okarun. Like as much as like Ida was on some wild home wrecking fuck shit, you could have avoided that by just telling her, yeah, I'm training to get stronger. How? I want to surprise you. Simple. As opposed to they're like, why are you sweaty? What's this wrist thing? And why are you on top of her? How do you explain that? You can't explain it.
Communication is the key.
And that's exactly, and so I really like that point where like, she's getting upset and then Okarun said like, hold on a second. If you actually care about what happened, then tell me honestly that you do. If it's weighing on your mind, please let me explain myself. I don't care how much other people will take things the wrong way, but I don't want to have the wrong I don't want you to have the wrong idea, Miss Ayase. I want you to have a proper understanding of everything. So once again, this is Okarun having a backbone. As much as he's apologizing and being apologetic, he's also not a punk little bitch. He's just like, I don't really care about what other people think. No one likes me. I'm cool with it, but you like me, and that's the most important thing for me. And I want to
I
make
like what he did in that moment because he did not let her leave with the wrong idea.
true physically. Not to say like you should like bar a woman from leaving, but like he held her hand. And then, sorry, go on, Debo.
One thing I hate about shows with I guess teenage
Shonen.
love. Yeah,
Mhm.
yes. It could get super annoying.
Yes,
Like this whole fiasco could have
within
been,
like 8 episodes.
oh my god. 8 episodes of just him trying to get back with her,
Mhm.
her being difficult
Mhm.
and making it more difficult for him to get back with her over a stupid little misunderstanding. And like you said, it could have we could have started season 2 with the whole shit not figured out, but they fixed it right there and then.
Yes, yes, those goes into 2 points because like on one point, going back on what Okonon is doing, Okonon is trying to get stronger for her. This is a kid who's like, an otaku nerd. He's not good in gym class, and from what I could infer, and he's working out to protect her. She's inspiring him to be a better person, a better man, right? And conversely, because of his level of emotional intelligence and awareness, Ayase is used to dealing with like fuck boys, useless guys, losers, quote unquote losers, and because of that, she's having a hard time dealing with Okarun being so emotionally expressive. Like she keeps blushing, turning away, trying to avoid him when he's like being heartfelt and honest. And because of that, and this is some of the experience I experienced, some of the experience I've had in my relationship, where like she apologizes, she's holding herself accountable because she's like, oh shit, this guy's like genuine and he's right. I can't. He's not wrong. I actually have to admit my own fault in this because oftentimes when you did a lot of horrible boyfriends, you start thinking like it's never me, it's always him. But then when you realize it is you realize that like, oh no, you too have to apologize. It's not always him apologizing. You have to apologize too, because that was the next step in our relationship. Like first was her seeing me apologize and her not being used to it, and then it was her learning to apologize as well and realizing, oh shoot, I'm not perfect. I have faults. I didn't realize this, but he's making me realize that. And so that goes back to what I said about like, do you like the idea of an emotionally intelligent man, or do you actually want that? Because that means as much as Okarun is working on himself physically, making himself a better man for her and better guy for her, she too has to work on that development in terms of her weaknesses to be a better person, a better girlfriend, a better woman for Okarun as well.
Yeah, so of course you guys said a lot, and I've just been wondering, uh, you know, Abby keeps saying that Ida's a homewrecker. Now, I just want to pick your brain here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Is she really? Because they're not in a relationship.
Well, it's a pseudo relationship, but like that's why I say that. When they talk about it, I'm not being literal in the sense, but like there are women who can be homewreckers.
Yes, that's true. Because the relationship, I don't think it's even one that's committed in
Yeah,
terms
it's not.
of
It's definitely
romantic.
not. But you can see like they both have feelings for each other in those regards. That's why I say it's a pseudo relationship. It's not a literal romantic relationship, but it has all the components of one, if you will.
Okay.
So I was just like I was like I want him. I likes him. Now we can do this the easy way or the hard way, Ayase. The choice is yours.
Because
Gotta
for
give it
her,
to him.
she sees it's fair game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the guy's still single. That means I can still pursue the guy.
I'll do you one further. He's talking to me. It's fair game. Yeah, he's married to you, he's in a relationship with you, but he's talking to me.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
I've lived this experience of the home wrecking thing. I had to talk my ex out of killing out of oh, gotta be mindful of the words you
Freudian
said,
slip right there. Freudian
right?
slip.
Um of her wanting to do self-deletion, ending herself because of me being in a relationship. So I got some experiences. And it's the whole concept of fair game. Like, oh, I want him, or oh, he's talking to me, or therefore that's what you got to be. Even as you're in a relationship, just as Okarun saved, Ida, you have to be careful whoever you're helping, because just the same way as like the pretty girl lending you the pencil, you think a lot of guys think that she likes him. Same thing for certain women, where like I've had experience with women who, especially who have like I would say daddy issues, where like I hold the door open for them, and now all of a sudden think I want to have kids with them, and I'm just like, whoa, whoa, never said that. I just held the door open. Relax. It takes a lot to get to that point where I'm trying to have you sire my children. On se calme, s'il vous plaît.
As you bring that up, I think I dealt with more than one occasions of that while being a personal trainer.
Oh, personal trainer,
Yeah.
mad. Go on.
Well, it's not nothing to like just to elaborate on. It's just as you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
the daddy issues and just like how women will approach you in that way. I saw it a lot as a personal trainer.
Mm. Do you have like any like what sort of things that did you kind of witness, if you're able to elaborate?
Let's just say if I wanted to,
You could.
yeah. Like there would be like There'd be no droughts.
Yep. Okay. I see you. Yeah, those are things.
Yeah, he means for him, winter is definitely not coming.
That part.
I
Winter is
like that.
definitely not coming.
I'm happy for you, man. A lot, but you know, so funny for a lot of men, their experience is not the same as Debo, right? Winter
Mm-hmm.
is coming,
Mm-hmm.
so they have to eat a lot right now, so to hibernate, so that come spring or summer, then they're back in action.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just got to get whatever you can get, which I can understand. But at the same time, it's like find someone that wants to be with you equally. But yeah, I think this has been a great episode. Like I said, I really love the mutuality of the relationship. I haven't seen anything like this since the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Work series. Like obviously it's there and kind of shown him, but like to this pronounced, freaking love it. Like I said, just the idea of like Okarun, you know, quote unquote getting the girl, even though we always think like that's the end of the story. It's like no, like he's also developing as a character, and that's not the only thing he's trying to do. And he's being acknowledged for it, right? He's leading with his, and that's the thing that attracted her to him is he's leading with his integrity. If you lead with your integrity, you will find women of integrity. If you lead with money, in the words of Preach from Abba and Preacher YouTube channel, if you lead with money, if you lead with cheese, you'll get rats. You'll get whatever you put out. You may not get all the girls if you lead with integrity, because some of them generally are not interested in that, right? Like how Ida was initially. Then she's like, oh shoot, like I kind of like his integrity because of what it did for me too. You get what you put out. So
You
if
may
you
not
lead
get
with
all the girls, but you get the girl you need.
oof, say that again. Say it again.
You may not get all the girls you want, but you'll get all the girls you need. But you'll get the girl you need, I should say. The
Oof, even better.
make it singular.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I didn't get all the girls, but like I have Deb. I'm good. Yeah, it has its own headaches where like I'll leave her for like 5 minutes and someone will hit on her, but like yeah, whatever. I don't care all that much about that.
But I do want to ask you too something before we do go. Like,
Mm.
what did you guys think about the anime itself? Just overall, the anime. Like, what was your favorite part? What was the stuff that you thought that they could probably work on? What do you wish to see?
Okay, well, what I can work on is I'm tired of anime having 13 episodes for season one. I'm tired of this, bro. It first cheesed me with Kaiju number 8, which we have to talk about. But now I'm just like I had a feeling like this show's so good. I really wish it was 26 episodes. But I'm like, watch this be 13 episodes, and then once again it's 13 episodes. So I have like a 13 episode core, like what they would do with the Face Day Night series, 13 episodes, and then you have to wait indefinitely. I'm tired of it. Give me 26 episodes in the season one. Otherwise, I think the anime's fire. Is definitely wacky and kooky, and it's definitely has a lot of plot of twists and turns, and I really am enjoying that. They have a fantastic cast of characters, very colorful, very different. I'm really enjoying that anime. I can see why it's trending. And I've never heard this. I forgot Studio Sora or something like that, Science Sora or something like that. I never heard of the studio before, but the way they're just animating the show and the intro and outro, you can see they put a lot of love and money into it. Solid anime. Loving it so far. Just stop doing 13 episodes. I'll pass it on to you guys. I know you guys want to go next. I think Debo, you want to go next about the show?
I'm a fan. I like the show. Um, I I really like when the villains aren't necessarily villains and they kind of end up joining the team in one way
Mm-hmm.
or another.
Right.
Oh, I like that. I always like
Turbo
that anime.
Granny. Yeah.
Yes. Even with the
I know.
dancer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So yeah, I really like when animes get into that type of stuff. And the backstories of the villains as well, when you get into it, it also adds another layer of depth
Mm-hmm.
to the show. One thing my sister likes to say about shows and what makes shows good is the many layers
Mm-hmm.
that the show has, and this show seems to have layers.
Mm.
Like we haven't even gotten into the backstory of the aliens yet.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that they love banana organs. Yeah, that's just hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know what we don't know what their full motivations are. They could be not so villainous like the rest of the ghosts.
It's true. It's true.
There could be some poor backstory as to why they had their banana organs somehow tragically mutilated, and now they have spent an eternity trying
Without
to
banana organs.
without banana organs, and they came to Earth and finally found the what's the word I'm looking for? Compatible banana organs.
You guys are crazy.
Hey man, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to restore your nutsack. If you can't do what you need to do to restore your nutsack in Kintamas, I don't know what to tell you. And then I would say lastly, my favorite episodes were obviously Acrobat Silky. Those were obviously the most standout episodes. Artistically beautiful, very tasteful. And then, like I said, that episode, I think it's the same episode or the episode before where Okarun and Ayase were really excited to talk to each other. Those would be like those are my favorite episodes. What about you, Jordan? How do you feel about the show? What were your favorite episodes or scenes?
Mm, I think my favorite one would probably have to be probably the very first episode because it laid the groundwork of the relationship and how
Mm,
things were going to move forward.
mm,
You actually touched on this point where you said, "Oh, once this is over, you're not going to speak to me."
mm,
And I think a lot. I think part of that is true when you look at exactly, the male experience. If we're not in school, or if we're not working, or if we're not
mm,
doing activity
mm,
with that woman that you're interested with,
mm,
men tend to think that, okay, if we weren't doing this, then you wouldn't be talking to me.
mm,
If I was not in this position, you would not be talking to me. So once this is all over, then you're not, you just wouldn't talk to me.
mm,
So I kind of like that because it also shows where the show was heading.
mm,
Like we knew Ayase or Momo was going to keep talking to him, but
mm.
we wanted to see exactly how that relationship was going to unfold realistically.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know
good
what I
point.
mean?
Hmm.
So my favorite episode was definitely the first one, but overall the show, I think it was really good. But my first impression of it was not that great because again, the animation was very a bit
Very kooky and
wacky. Yeah.
wacky. Yep.
Yeah, it was very wacky. But the more you invested time in it and you actually look at the dynamic relationship between the characters, you come to realize very quickly that the show actually had potential. It actually had a story, it had a moral, it had
Hmm.
comedy, it was action packed. It even has supernatural involved just to keep the suspense going. Every single episode was a suspense. And Debo said one thing I really liked. I like when villain joins the good side
Hmm.
because it humanizes them and says, well, they're not actually
They
bad
were never
people.
bad. Yeah,
They were never bad.
just misunderstood.
So the way they added that villain character into joining the good side just made that whole relationship between them really good because you can even see Ayase's is that grandmother? It's grandmother,
Turbo
right?
Granny?
Ayase's
Or are you talking
grandmother?
about Seiko, her actual grandmother?
Her actual grandmother.
I think it's Seiko. I think. Yeah. Hmm.
You can even see like she doesn't have her up guard when the evil granny is around. Like they're
Mm,
all more or less just relaxed.
that's true. That's a good
So
point.
that's what I liked about the show. So anyways, but regardless, uh the points you two made throughout especially this episode was many of them I can really just agree with. It was really some nice points.
Awesome. And I would say a lasting point for me is being fired. One of the things like leading up to like always worrying about this as a provider for my family is I was always worried that like Deb would quote unquote leave me if I'm fired, but it hasn't changed anything, right? And that goes back to the quote of, after this is over, you can go back ignoring me. I think that is a very telling mindset of a lot of the male experience of if I'm not a human doing or a doing being, you will probably ignore me or not see any value in me. But it's like, no, you inherently have value. You are worth being with, just simply from you being who you are. So with a lot of the young men and boys I work with, I always do my best to remind them of that. But no, I think this has been a fantastic episode. Shouts to what is it called? Momokarun, you know, Oka and Ayase's relationship. It's A1. I think it's a shining example of what we need to see in shonen series, especially when there's a misunderstanding and as you know Debo said, it doesn't last 8 episodes. It's just resolved right then and there. But yeah, thank you guys for joining on this episode. We are out.
Deuces.
Peace.